With that, previous guest writes the first question. You have the envelope in front of you. I will leave it up to you.
All right. What's one lie I have told myself on repeat that if I shifted it, it would change my life?
Well, that's easy because we never lie to ourselves.
Yeah, okay. That's a hard question, and like I love how you asked that because I'm in my head. I'm like,
well, I didn't ask it.
Whoever asked it.
I actually really dig on the fact that sometimes my guests just come up with something that, from the aspect of when the next guest reads it, and they're kind of like, oh, you can see that it really gets their wheels turning.
Yeah, it's like what lie? Because we all have them, right? I think I'd have to say the lie I've told myself on repeat that if I shifted it, it would change my life is that I'm tough. Yeah, I don't know if I'm actually as tough on the inside as I put out there to others, like on my exterior, if that makes sense.
Where does that defense mechanism come from? Because if I'm interpreting it correctly,
yeah.
it's a form of a defensive posturing, so to speak.
Matt, posture is a really good word to use in this, and like asking that, like, where does this come from? That defense, because it absolutely is, right? I think growing up and always being short and always being like not like everyone else. I was like the chubby little kid who couldn't do things like everyone else. And then I felt unnoticed. So if I looked at those who were around me, whether it was family members, brothers, I thought people found them to be more interesting because they were tough. So I wanted to be tough also. And so I think that has pushed me to do a lot of things in my life that I don't know if I would have like actually like done them. Like, I don't know in my heart of hearts if that was really like how hard I would have pushed myself to be something more, to be tougher, to really like push the envelope to show everyone around me that like I can be something too, We're
going to get into this. You're one of 7 brothers and sisters, correct? Within your family, are you noticeably shorter than everybody else's, or everybody in your family kind of along the same lines? And I'll throw myself in this mix. I'm kind of reversed in that my dad on his best day was 5'9", but my grandfather was 6'3" on my mom's side. So by the time I was 13 or 14, I was bigger than my dad. So it just kind of, you said something that really stands out to me, is that you were aware that you were shorter than what you perceived as everybody else or the average. But within your family, are you even shorter than most everybody else?
Now, no. And I say that because, like, for whatever reason, growing up, everyone grew at, relatively normal rates. They had growth spurts, all that stuff. Like, I was just always, like, as an adolescent, the shortest one in every class, any sports team I was on, anywhere I was the short guy. And it was always like, hey, everyone, stand up. Hey, you over there, Antonio, stand up. Ha ha. We all know you're short. So it was always pointed to me. And so, I mean, I wore that and I still do. So my family now, like, my wife and I went to a wedding, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, and we're the same height, right? We're tall, 5'4", and she was like, I've never felt like the tallest person at a wedding before. So that was really interesting. So like, we're all a bunch of like short Italians, but on both sides of my mother and father, my uncles are all like 5'9", 6 foot, So the genes are there. I was not lucky enough to get those.
And we're going to get into this. Your dad had 3 before him and your mom got together, and then there were the 4.
Correct.
Is there a difference between the first 3 brothers and sisters?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's so weird, right? Genetics are a funny thing. Like there are those certain things that carry over. And then there are just certain things that don't, right? Like we're all clearly like in our facial structure. You could see we're all related. Like my wife always says, like, you guys are like Mr. Potato Head. Just put a different body on each of you, but it's the same face. But yeah, like those 3 siblings from my father's first litter, as he would call them. They were all noticeably taller. We're talking, taller for us is like 5'7", 5'8".
The defense mechanism that you put up, was that from your family's perspective? Because obviously so much of who we become as adults starts in the house as little kids. Mom and dad supportive in the sense of, hey, yeah, you might be shorter than the rest, but go out, go forth and prosper, so to speak. There's nothing you can't do. Or is it kind of even like with your brothers and sisters, like how you're the little one, and just fighting it from all angles, so to speak?
Yeah, it definitely came. It came from all angles, to be honest with you. Like I mentioned before, like sports teams and things like that I tried to be on. But to like throw in this other part of it is like, not only am I the short one, but I'm also like, again, out of my Italian genes, I'm also the whitest one. And then I always had there was always some sort of thing wrong with me. I had asthma, I had allergies. If anyone was sick and needed to be in the hospital, it was me all the time. So I was just like the sad freaking ugly duckling, of our siblings. And, I can remember sitting down, eating dinner during holidays with, all 7 siblings and their kids all together. And, parents are yelling chew with your mouth closed. And then I'm trying to breathe because I'm always so stuffed up. They're like, not you, you're okay. So it was always I could, chew with my mouth open and be a slob because I couldn't breathe out of my nose.
Anything that prompted you to actually spend any significant time in the hospital?
Asthma attacks. Yeah, I would literally be beaten to an asthma attack from my older brother. So that happened.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, cool, man. And it was one of those things I better toughen up. I'm gonna have to survive this, beating for the rest of my life. So, I guess it made me stronger at the end of the day. But yeah, no, I was just a fat little weak kid, and I didn't want to be that. I didn't want to wear that as my identity.
Would you say that there was a point in your life that you can remember consciously recognizing that I'm putting up this defensive posture, this defense mechanism, but I need to get past it?
Yeah. And
each of us is on the grind. It's that early alarm, the extra rep, the drive that doesn't quit. Grind, spelled GRND, is the mindset that pushes you to go further when most people stop. Founded by a former Army Ranger, Grind Activewear is built on one simple mission: give 100% and then some more. Every piece of clothing is functional, durable, and made for people who outwork the rest. On the field, in the gym, or wherever you're building your next lane. This isn't just clothing. It's commitment woven into fabric, rooted in American grit and culture. Because when you wear Grind, you're not just wearing a logo. You're representing effort, discipline, and purpose. Check out the grndcollective.com and use the promo code TRANSITION15 for 15% off your order. You're already on the grind. Now wear it.
I can remember in, 5th or 6th grade, I should say 5th and 6th grade, being bullied. And sometimes I'd be bullied, and all I had to do is go home and tell my older brother, hey, so-and-so did this, and he would unleash hell on that person. And then as we continued in our, in our lives, again, early on still, right? I'm in middle school, and, he's in middle school too, but we're hanging out in different crowds. I'd be getting bullied and be like, I have to figure out a way to stand up for myself. I don't know, like, how far is this going to go where I'm going to get seriously hurt?
So you realize I can't keep running to my brother.
Correct. And not only that, I'm going to talk about like this toughness. Like, I would feel bad for other people. Like, man, I'm going to go tell my brother, and like, he does not have a soul. He will crush you and just like act like it was just another day of taking out the trash. Where like, I would seriously feel bad for that person afterwards.
Have you seen the interview with Nick Diaz when they ask him about being bullied in school?
No, I haven't seen that one.
He's being interviewed, and the questions around that same like, hey, were you bullied in school? And he gets this almost kind of a maniacal chuckle. And it's just one of those things where you can see in his eyes that he knew he had the support of his brother, Nate. He goes, no, man, I had a big brother. But the way he said it, it's like, you know that Nate always made sure he was good to go and nobody was going to screw with him.
I can remember, and as you were asking that, and like, just flip into different memories that are, rattling around up here. There was one night, and again, I'm in middle school, and I get into a scuffle with another kid. And this is back in the day where, I don't know if they still do this, but everyone formed a circle. And now me and this kid are fighting in the middle of the circle. And if you get pushed out or try and run away, like, they push you back in, and the fight is going to get finished one way or the other. And I remember I'd like got like knocked into my brother standing in this on the side of this circle. He grabs me, looks at me, and throws me back. And he's like, you started it, you finish it. I got my ass handed to me. And to kind of like take that down the road, like, I remember going home with, like a shiner, and my father looks at me and was like, what happened? I was like, I tripped and fell. Because in our house, it was like, if you get into a fight, you better come out the winner, or else you're going to get beat up at home again. And so I tripped and fell. And then obviously the truth comes out years later. And I'm talking, man, so if I might have been out of the Marine Corps at this point, years later. So this fight happened down in Florida when I lived there. Now I'm in New Jersey. 15 years later, probably, I'm working at a flea market and talking to this kid, this guy next to me. Well, what's your name? Tells me his name. Like, oh, you look familiar. What's your last name? Tells me his last name. Like, this was the kid that I got into a fight with. And he was like, I don't want any trouble. He's like, I'm so sorry. I was like, man, we were kids. You're like, it's all good. And at the time I was, lifting weights and bodybuilding and stuff like that. So it was definitely like an interesting, full circle here, running into this person. And, we were kids. Who cares?
And we're going to get into that as far as, where you grew up and in your time in Florida. But real quick, so I'm of the age where we had a gym teacher when I was in junior high school. Two guys got into it. He'd grab just those two only. It was not a public spectacle. Into the gym, boxing gloves on, finish this, get it worked out. And you go, there ain't no way in hell that's happening today.
Oh, no. Oh, man. You talk about, child endangerment and all these other things that come along with that. But I don't know. Let's bring that back.
So let's get into your life story.
Sure.
You're from Jersey, but didn't really grow up there, or you kind of left for a little bit. So give that story.
Yeah, so I was born in New Jersey. When I was about 3, we moved. So my parents and us 4 kids, we moved down to South Florida, a place called Coral Springs, right outside of Fort Lauderdale. And I lived there from, again, when I was 3 until I was about 13, before we again moved back to New Jersey. And to be honest with you, like, I can remember my parents like putting that house up for sale several times. I mean, starting with the first year that we lived down there, they were ready to go. Like, my mom did not want to be there. She did not feel like this was the place that she actually wanted to be, because she left all her family, her brothers and sisters, and her mother rather.
Well, let's work that into the story because we've talked about 7 brothers and sisters. You've got a unique story when it comes to the family dynamic. So explain that one.
Yeah, so you mean like my mother and father?
Yeah.
All right.
And then the separation in the brothers and sisters.
Yeah. So, all right. So my father was driving a bus for New York City, and my father is 30 years older than my mother. And so my father had a wife and kids before my mother was born. And I always like to say to people, my father didn't rob the cradle, he robbed the ovaries.
He built the cradle.
Yeah, he built the cradle for sure. So my father had these 3 kids. Again, his first wife died. He met my mother. And essentially the way he met my mother was he'd be driving the bus. Hey, this young, early 20s-year-old girl is getting on the bus. And even if my mother was running late, my father would park that bus in front of her apartment building to wait till she got down so he could drive her to work.
Pays to know people.
Man, it pays to know old people. But it's hilarious too, because at this time, again, we're talking late 70s or maybe early 80s, maybe 1980. My father also used to wear a wig, like a toupee. But like there wasn't ever like any, and again, these are just stories I've been told, like he wasn't shy about like if it was hot out, like he would like take it off and put it on top of like the change machine. So,
your mom's sitting there on the bus going, I got to have some of that.
Oh God, right? Like, and I always like, whenever I tell people that like my father's 30 years older than my mother, they're usually people assume like, oh, he's a sugar daddy, like this man was driving a bus, right? Like he was like trying to support his, his family. So my mother and father meet. And of course I have these 3 siblings who are my mother's age and older. And my mother and father get married in 81, and then they have 4 kids. So it's, I've got a brother who's older than me, then there's me, then I have a sister, and then I have a younger brother.
But you were still also close with the 3 older siblings.
Man. Yeah, we grew up like having holidays together. Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's, whatever, right? Any holiday, like we were always together. So even though there was a lot of separation in age, and people often say like, oh, so these are your step brothers, sister. Like, no, these are my half siblings, right? Because they're not from the same mom. But like, we grew up really close. But also like those older brothers, they really took on more of like an uncle. If we were messing up, they'd smack us upside the head, and put us in line like they did with their own kids. And so their kids, my nieces and nephews, were also older than me by like a couple years. And then there's some younger. But, and so growing up with my nieces and nephews in this family dynamic, we were close. So like, yeah, there's a uncle, niece, nephew relationship, but we would tell people like to not like confusing, like, oh, it's my cousin, just to like make it not so weird for others. And like, I don't want to have to tell the story 18 times. But sure enough.
It's too convoluted. You're like, I don't have the time for it.
Oh man. People are like, hey, my Uncle Tony is coming to hang out. Like, why is your Uncle Tony like 5 years younger than you?
What took the family to Florida?
So my dad retired, again, because he was way older than my mom. And he was driving a bus and he was done with that. And, truth be told, so my mother started noticing that my father had hit like 20 something years driving the bus. And my mother noticed that like some of his buddies who were also hitting that time and beyond, they were starting to pass away. They were starting to have heart attacks and things like that. So my mother was like, hey, you're done, retire, and he had a buddy of his that he grew up with who moved down to South Florida. So they decided, hey, let's move to Florida. We get more house for our money, all that stuff, which I think is still true today. So yeah, they moved down so my father could live the retirement life.
Oh, and you were 3 when you moved down there.
Yeah.
So you really didn't have a lot of memories specifically of Jersey at that point.
No, in fact, the only memories that I really had of New Jersey was from when my parents decided to move to Florida. They sold their house to one of my older siblings and his family. And so we would take road trips up during the holidays to go visit, and we'd be in the same house. So like I have these memories
Right.
Of going there. I mean, and again, there's a picture of me like with a MEPS helmet on, like sitting on the toilet in this house, and again, it's, early, late 80s. And, there's like the yellow wallpaper and, yellow toilet bowl, stuff like that. So like, that's a memory I have from this picture, but we didn't live there at the time, even though I did live in that house at a time beforehand. So, I don't really remember much.
With so many, it's a very common migration for people on the East Coast.
Yeah.
The New Jersey New Yorkers retire to Florida. But even with everybody that your parents may have known, they still just did not dig Florida?
No, and they made some great relationships down there. My mother is still really good friends with people that she met down in Florida. But guess what? Where did those people come from?
New York.
They also came from New York, right? So, I think they really enjoyed like the friendships they made, but also there is that, so like they left family.
Got it.
Back, in the Northeast as well. So, and I'll say this, like my family, like we multiplied like roaches. I can't even tell you, like 100+ cousins, because again, both of my parents are like one of 4 or 5. And then all of their siblings had like 4 or 5 kids, and like, rinse and repeat the situation here over, decades and decades.
There's a family mission statement. We got to keep it up.
Look, I could pass my family members in the streets of New York. I would have no idea who they are at this point.
How did you like Florida?
To answer like your question, like, oh, what do you remember about Jersey beforehand? I was 3, like not much. Like I didn't remember much. So I grew up in South Florida. Like those were my adolescent years. That's when my friends from preschool and elementary school, like the kids in the neighborhood. This is where I grew up. I loved it there. I loved everything that I was doing. I felt comfortable. I don't think I ever thought we were actually going to leave. And yeah, I'm still lucky that I'm still connected with a few people that I went to elementary school and middle school with before my parents moved us back to New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I played sports. I think there's also that time where you don't see the other things. Like you don't see, like we had hurricanes, right? I was down there for Hurricane Andrew, which was absolutely devastating. That was 92, 93. But hey, once a year for a couple months, like you got hurricanes roll by, like, hey, just another day.
It's a little breezy.
Yeah, a little breezy. It's all good. But we had fun.
I guess where my mindset was that if your mom and dad really didn't like it down there, were they good about hiding it in the sense of, with all the road trips back to Jersey, it wasn't 7 or 8 hours of, man, I effing hate Florida, I can't wait to move back? Or was it always just kind of never really apparent to you?
We grew up with adults speak with adults.
That's definitely old school.
We had no idea what was going on in anything, in the economy, in politics, in my mother and father's personal relationship, and anything else. So like, and we were outside. We were outside all day. All the, things you see, the memes, reels, stuff like that. Like, yeah, sun came out, go outside. We were drinking from the water hose. We were, running around the neighborhood. My parents had no idea where we were. When is it time to come home? When the street lights come on. And yeah, whether it's in the summertime when street lights don't come on till, 8, 9 p.m. Like, yeah, we were out, but that was the universal sign for, oh, it's late, time to get home. You know, we didn't have to have the commercial on TV, you know, it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? So, you know, if it was a discussion, we were never a part of it.
What took up your time as a kid in Florida? So
we played sports. We played football, basketball. Again, I still don't know why my parents got me into basketball. They weren't very tall, so it's not like we were going to be tall. Plus, I was always, you know, like I said, sickly. So, like, why did we do this? And then we got into hockey. So, played roller hockey. And then the Florida Panthers became a team at this time, which is kind of like, I think, what pushed hockey to be a big thing in South Florida. And then we got into ice hockey, and man, like any time that we had, if we could spend it at the ice rink or the roller rink playing hockey, that's what we were doing. Other than that, you know, when hockey wasn't happening, we're, you know, summertime, stuff like that, we're playing manhunt, you know, through the neighborhoods, running through people's backyards, causing all sorts of mischief, trying to get into trouble that wasn't anything serious.
Light.
Although sometimes, like, I look back at things we did, like, oh man, that was stupid. Like, I feel really bad. Like, if I could go back around, like, you know, with a huge wad of cash in my pocket and like knock on people's doors, like, hey, remember when you lost the Cadillac emblem on the front of your car? That was me. I'm so sorry. Like, now as an adult, be like, man, I'd be pissed, and I don't even know how much that cost back then.
They were expensive.
I can only imagine.
And what's more stupid is, what did we think we needed them for?
Status. It was status. And again, like, that goes back to that whole, like, tough guy thing. Like, I knew it was wrong, and I didn't. I would never come up with this idea, but the people I was hanging out with were doing it, and I wanted that status. I wanted to be like everyone else.
Was your friend group including your immediate older brother, or did you guys kind of have your own separate paths?
Man, and that's the messed up part of it too. Like, all my friends, for as long as I could think of, I always developed like the friends who were like nice and doing nice, productive things. But I wanted to be like my brother because I thought he was cool. And so I would always try and like weave myself in and try and prove that I could be part of that group of misfits, mischievous, you know, just they didn't care about getting into trouble. And even though in my heart of hearts, like I didn't want to do that, like I would do it just to be like, okay, you're cool too, you could hang out.
Was he actually crossing the line and getting into trouble?
Oh man, my brother was crossing the line and getting into trouble since the beginning of time. and I really, like, I truly mean that. Like, going into elementary school, he was always put on like behavior, you know, notices and things like that. He was in middle school. I mean, cops were coming to the house. You know, parents were calling. What did he do? You know, so there was this like dynamic of my parents would get into arguments with other parents because of things that my brother did. And that also created, because of things that my brother would do, if something happened in the neighborhood, it was like, oh, this happened, it must have been him. So like people would call. I remember one night we're all sitting on the couch watching TV. I don't remember my mother being there, and maybe she was, but I just remember my father being the one to answer the phone. And so apparently one of the neighbors, like someone threw like a bag of shit at their, you know, door, and the guy calls, hey, your sons did this. And my father looks at both of us. He's like, my kids are right here. You know, he may have said some expletives there, but at this point, like, this was a family that like we would sometimes hang out with. That was it. No more. That friendship has been, you know, dissolved right then and there.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize today is So much of what goes on is because parents don't let their kids be kids, and they're all up in their business. And so it's kind of cool to hear that your dad and mom and dad really kind of took that attitude of, hey, just let them be kids. But at the same token, don't just arbitrarily blame my kid. You know, so there's that cool dynamic there that seemed to be working.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because of my older siblings as well. And again, like, because my father, who was born in 1927, now at, 60 years old, in the 90s, has 4 kids, right? Like, he's raising us as if we were born in the 50s, and so like we were like, you're getting the belt, you're getting the wooden spoon, you're getting the shoe, the backhand, whatever.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Oh man, fall in line, right? And growing up in that, like I can remember like my father threatening other people like in a public parking lot. Because, so for instance, I don't know what happened. We did something and, oh, here you go. Take this. So I'm in elementary school. My brother and I, for whatever reason, we break a girl's purse at the bus stop. We're little kids. Like, I have elementary school kids. And I'm like, what? First off, why is this girl carrying a purse? Number one. Number two, what the hell are we doing trying to like rip this girl's purse out of her hands? I have no idea. My father gets called into the principal's office because he's retired, right? He's home. My mother is at work. So anytime someone gets called, calls the house, it's my father showing up. And people eventually learn that, like, they're like, listen, we don't want to call your father, okay?
You're like, I don't want you to call my father either.
So my father doesn't need the story. All he knows is your children are in the principal's office. We need you to come down. My father walks into the principal's office, looks at her, looks to the side, sees us, smacks us across the face, both of us. Boom, 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 boom. He looks at the principal, then goes, what'd they do? Again, we're in trouble.
It's your fault.
That's it. It's our fault. And again, that was like, that kind of like set the tone very, very early on, where it was like, I mean, my father would smack us in public and someone would gasp. And my father looked at him and like point, like, you're next. So like, this like short, like Italian dude just like ruling the world with an iron fist.
Now, you said one of your older siblings bought the house you were born in.
Correct.
Or living in. Other than them, did any of the other ones also move to Florida, or were the older ones all still up in Jersey?
Yeah. So, and it's funny you say that because, all right, so it's that sibling who bought the house in New Jersey. We moved down to South Florida. That sibling, and a few years after we moved to Florida, he and his family moved down to Florida. So he always kind of like followed around, and he and I are still very, very close to this day. The other two have since passed, but that's my brother Victor, and we're still very
What's
close.
The age gap?
So I think he's gonna turn, what year is this? I think he's gonna turn 70 this year. I'm 41, so
significant age gap.
Significant, yeah.
What was you said that your mom and dad didn't really talk to the kids about their business.
Yeah.
But do you remember the final straw for your mom and dad to go, screw it, we're out. We're going back home, so to speak?
Again, this is like every like year or couple of years they were putting the house back on the market. Time to go back. And really it was just kind of a situation that just kind of like occurred. So my good friend I grew up with, his mother was a realtor, and my mother called her up and was like, hey, we're planning on putting the house up for the market. And, my friend's mother joked like, haha, well, I'm not going to sell the house for you. My mom hangs up the phone, after like, cordial goodbyes and all that. So the plan was to put the house back up for sale. No sooner as she hung up the phone rings. And it was a couple who said, hey, we came and saw your house a couple years ago. We're wondering if you're still looking to sell. So really just like everything just kind of aligned at the right moment for my parents. And yeah, that was 1998 where, boom, moved back up to New Jersey.
And you were how old at that point? You're going into high school, right?
Yeah, so I'm about to turn, was 14, 15? Yeah, I'm 13. 13, about to turn 14 in a few months.
How do you, I don't want to say like, because it's not handled in the sense you don't really have a say.
Yeah.
But your mindset leaving Florida, heading back to New Jersey, what are you thinking? Are you happy with it? Are you pissed off about it?
Man, I was pissed. I was really upset. Like, I was sad. Like, this is the place I grew up. This is where all my friends are. Not to mention, I'm also in 8th grade, right? And I'm supposed to be going into high school. My parents are pulling me away from everything I know. My friends, the activities that I do. I was really, really disappointed. And I can remember when we make this drive back to New Jersey from Florida. And now we know, like, now we're moving here, right? We're living here. My mother had already bought a house. She came up a few times. And so, you know, for anyone who's ever been to New Jersey, right? You fly into Newark usually, and you go into Newark. It's all industrial, right? Smokestacks, all this stuff. Like, you know, there's that part that people see. New
Makes
Jersey,
you immediately think Garden State.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, the garden of smokestacks. But it is. New Jersey really is a beautiful, you know, state. There are lots of foliage and, you know, farms and stuff like that. And so we hit the town line, you know, and we're like off the freeway, right? We're off the highway, and we're taking these, like, you know, county roads and stuff like that. Man, we hit the you know, the township line. And my mother goes, okay, well, you know, we still have like 20 more minutes, but we're here. This is the town we're going to be living in. And we're looking out the windows at these, like, you know, overgrown fields with, you know, dilapidated, like, ranches, like barns, you know, and like the wood paneling falling off. And, you know, again, I'm pissed. I'm like, hey, Mom, is that it? Is that our house? And she's, you know, she's getting, like, visibly frustrated with us. But at this point, like, I've been betrayed, you know? And so, I would just keep, like, doing it. You know, there's a house, again, falling apart. There's a freaking tree growing out of the roof. I'm like, oh, there it is. There's our new house. Thanks, Mom. But yeah, I was absolutely, like, just devastated. And it took me, I want to say it took me probably like maybe 2 years. And maybe it was a year. Maybe it just seemed like 2 years, right? Maybe it was a year before I can remember hanging out with some friends being like, I love it here.
How different was it? Again, you're only 3 at the time, but you had been back to visit the first house you lived in. Are we talking completely different dynamics of neighborhoods and people, or is it still kind of the same, just a different township?
Kind of the same, just a different township. I mean, from the house we previously lived in to this one, I mean, maybe it was like 15 miles, maybe 20.
So same general area.
Correct.
Got it. But for you, it wasn't what was normal or natural to you.
No, because I left everything. I was taken away from everything that, like, I knew. Now I have to start my life all over again.
Were you still deep into hockey at this point?
Very.
When you left Florida?
Yeah. Yeah. And so, like, I would go to hockey camp. Well, I went to hockey camp in Canada twice. And so it was during this time that, like, honestly, like, hockey was my life. Like, I loved to play hockey. And again, like, I had teams and travel teams and all this stuff. And that soon took a back seat. That became something I really wanted to do, but then there's first off distance, right? We didn't have a local hockey rink. We had to drive out there. I got other siblings that my parents have to get them to their activities. And so my older brother, gosh, did he play anymore? He didn't play anymore after that. And so really it was like, it became just a me thing. And then it became no thing. probably after my freshman year of high school.
Yeah. In comparison, in Florida, would there have been the opportunity to play at the high school level? And in New Jersey, is there high school hockey teams?
Isn't it amazing? Like Florida, why the hell would you be playing ice hockey in Florida? So to answer that question, absolutely. In South Florida, hockey became huge in the 90s. It was all the rage. And then going back up to we didn't have a hockey team. If we wanted to be on a hockey team, we'd have to go to like a Catholic school, private school. And my parents didn't have money for that, man. Again, talking about that relationship with my parents, we had no idea that my parents were broke pretty much our whole lives growing up. But they made it work. They got us involved in the most expensive sport. So I don't blame them either for, not pushing hockey a little bit more as we got older.
Now, is it just regional in the sense of, because hockey is so ingrained in the Northeast that, to your knowledge, are there high schools in Jersey that actually have high school hockey teams?
Absolutely.
Just not where you were going to go to high school.
Correct.
When you say it kind of took a back seat, did it take a back seat because you found other positive interests or negative interests?
Negative, of course. Negative interest, right?
I asked that loaded question.
So to kind of go back a little bit, before leaving South Florida, I, again, this tough guy mentality, right? Really just trying to do things that were just out of my character. Listen, I started getting involved with smoking pot, right? And so, and list for those listeners out there, this will tie in, I promise you. So about a week or two before we left, and again, this summer, so this is May of 98. Yeah.
So do you basically graduate 8th grade, you're into the summer and packing bags and we're moving?
We moved before the end of the school year.
Oh.
Again, so talking about being ripped away from everything, man, now I'm rebelling. I am absolutely rebelling now. So my friends throw me a going away party. This is the parents aren't home, so it's an open house. Everything that, at this time, young kids are doing at an open house party. We're drinking, we're smoking pot, and my friends are coming and giving me, little bags of pot, and I'm shoving them in my pockets. Eventually, what happens at an open house party, right? Who shows up? The cops show up, right? You guys are up to no good. And so I'm I got to get out of here. And it's South Florida, right? There's a lake in the backyard, as there are in many. So
Isn't there just water all around?
Everywhere. Water, alligators, all that stuff. It's a normal occurrence. So I walk out back of this house because I'm going to get away from trouble, right? And all of a sudden, it was that minute my heart dropped, right? And all of a sudden, this light shines in my eyes, and the flashlight's up here, right? They're looking down. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing back here?" And I'm I froze, right? And so, I get searched, all that. I've got pot on me. Also, my parents have sold the house at this time, and they're staying at that other sibling's house. My parents are staying there. I'm supposed to be spending the night at a friend's house. So, the cops were super nice, right? And man, talk about I screwed my own life up, first off, at this time, right? But they helped me out, right? They didn't take me down. They didn't take me in and book me, all that stuff. Again, I'm 13 years old. So they're all right, empty this pot out into the lake. Cool. So I empty the pot out. They're you're not off the hook, though. It's not where this ends. So cops walk me to the front of the house, explain stuff to the parents, who were then called. And so the parents of the friend who I was supposed to be staying with, they show up to pick us up. And at this point, they're there's no way you're staying with us, right? So you can't stay in our house. So now they have to then go and drop me off with my parents, staying at my older sibling's house, and essentially tell them like what had happened, right? So I was let go by the police to be like, hey, now you got to go face the consequences of your own actions. And so at that point, my parents were like, well, you're not going to hockey camp after this. Like, right. Like we don't reward bad behavior. And of course, like this was just out of character as well for me. My parents had never, my older brother, this would have 100% been a expectation, but not for me. So they were kind of devastated of that as well. And so I didn't go to hockey camp that year that we moved back up to New Jersey.
Is it a sliding scale in the sense of the four of you that are the younger? Mm-hmm. Your older brother being the worst than you, and then does it go better in the sense that like your sister and brother actually the opposite extreme where they're just squared away kids, or were they kind of falling in line with you and your older brother also?
So there's enough of an age gap that my youngest brother didn't really do that until he could make a decision for himself and decide eventually to follow that track. But my sister, God bless her. And again, my sister and I, we're very close. My brothers and I are not close at all, except for me and my older sibling who's like 70. And so my sister, man, she just went to school, did what she had to do, flew under the radar. Any boyfriends come to the house, sorry, buddy, you don't really get a warm welcome here. And, you pretty much get chased away by a couple of pit bulls, who don't want you here. But no, so like that, to answer that, no, that didn't really slide down. And, fortunately for my sister and my younger brother, they had more smarts in their school years than we did.
So going back to Jersey, so to speak, if I'm understanding correctly, then hockey was kind of taken from you.
So hockey was taken away because, again, we don't reward poor behavior. But also, my mother is working full time. My father is retired. They don't want us just sitting around the house. So it's like, we'll go out. And so, okay, well, I don't have time now where I'm playing hockey. So,
or actually opposite, I've got a lot of time now.
Oh, well, exactly, right? So the time isn't being spent playing hockey. Therefore, the time is being spent getting into more trouble.
Not getting good grades and being a good student?
No, why would I do that? That sounds, too easy and convenient. And so, I found myself getting into more trouble, more mischief, trying to prove my worth as a tough guy. And that turned into, well, great, I'm going to spend more time trying to, find time to smoke pot and get into trouble. And where are the bad kids at? And again, I would always attract really nice kids, and I would push them away because, they're not getting into the trouble that I want to get into.
But at the same token, if I'm understanding correctly, you said, I wanted to go right up to that line. I really wasn't looking to cross the line to where I'd actually end up in jail or anything like that. You just wanted to be right at that dividing line, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's easy when you have an older sibling
who clearly shows you where the line is.
Man, well, and he's taking the attention away from me, and I knew as long as I kept things neat and tidy. We're also a family that we have family dinners together every night. If you are not here, you better have some explaining to do. So I knew as long as I kept my things neat and tidy, swept over my tracks and showed up to dinner, I was all good.
I asked this not in a sarcastic way or anything. Was your mom and dad's mentality of, as long as you don't get arrested and as long as you don't bring trouble to the house, we don't really care what you're doing when you're outside?
Absolutely. Therefore, we were not the house where friends would come and hang out. And let me change that. My brother would bring his clan of, misfits to the house. I knew better. If I'm going to party and do drugs and stuff, it's not going to be in my house. I'm going to go to the other house with nobody home. That way I have nothing to clean up. So it was easy to kind of like find my way around that, but also knowing like there's a line here. I'm going to continue to try and push this line just enough, to where all eyes are on him, not on me. I'm good.
So how did high school go for you?
Terrible. I barely made it out of high school. And, it really, a lot of it was from just not applying myself. And it was like a desire to just push back. And I don't know if, hindsight being what it is, like, I don't know if this was like, I just wanted to rebel and like be a disappointment to my parents, or if I just wanted to be cool, right? Doing air quotes here, like my brother. But I would purposely like just say, screw the system and go do my own thing. Like there'd be times where I would drop my little sister off at the front of the school. I was a senior and she was a freshman at the same time. I'd drop her off. I'd drive over to the student parking lot and I'd go to sleep in the back of my car. And then when I was ready, I'd go in. Where were you? Don't ask me questions. I'm not telling you. I'd go and hang out in the assistant principal's office. Just hang out with him. I had plenty of times where I'd walk into class that morning and the teacher would just look at me and like, for whatever reason, they weren't having a good day to start. They'd look at me and be like, just go to the principal's office.
I can't deal with you today.
I'm not doing this. And I would intentionally just cause disruption to be kicked out of the classroom. And I mean, there was one time that I remember, and man, this teacher, she was so sweet too. And like, I think back, like I had so many great teachers in high school who wanted me to succeed. And I would constantly, figuratively speaking, kick them in the butt, for doing so. And I wouldn't have gotten out of high school if it wasn't for them seeing maybe who I truly was rather than this facade, right? This exterior that I was trying to put up. But I had this one teacher and she walked into class a little bit late. Kids are in there. We all have our, some of us have our heads down on the desk. I'm taking a nap, right? And she says, all right, everyone lift your heads up. It's time to begin. And I lift my head up, sleepy eyed. I look at her. She goes, not you. Put your head back down.
Did you and your brother create an environment where your poor sister and younger brother, when they came into school, like, oh shit, there's not more of you,
100%. Yeah, absolutely. And again, because so not only that, so like the name, right? Like, oh, you're a Bonfiglio too, right? Like, oh God, right? Like you're going to be trouble. And they're like, now they have to really like go above and beyond to show that like they're good kids. Cause they were, so my cousins, my niece eventually like gets there after we're gone. And like just this like cycle, there's probably a good like, 10-year period where, family members come to the school, they're like, not another one, getting phone calls like, yeah, guess what? I have your old teacher. So things aren't going so well right now. Thanks a lot.
Your dad and my dad, similar in age. You said your dad was born in 27?
Yeah.
So my dad was born in 34. So probably very much the same mentality of no college, never went to college.
No.
Blue collar through and through, go get a job when you get out of high school. Was that pretty much what your parents expected of you kids? Or was college ever discussed?
Man, and that is what my father, right? My father and mother had completely different views of stuff like this. However, growing up, like my mother was always like doing college classes here and there, but never like until I was out of the Marine Corps, did my mother like graduate, college finally, because she didn't have us idiots, in the way.
The 13-year, 4-year plan?
Yeah, so I can remember times where essentially my mother would be like, you're not going to be able to get in college with these grades. Anytime, which was often, that I would be suspended from school, I would just call my job Like, hey,
I got
not
extra
going to
time.
school today. I got extra time. And I would go work. So like I always had really good work ethic from that part. And even after high school, I was enrolled in community college. Again, I say enrolled because I wasn't really going much. And I mean, I would spend the time, Paul. I would drive the 35 minutes to this community college in the snow. I would get there. I put forth the effort, and I would walk in, be like, I don't want to be here today. I'd walk right back out. But eventually, my last like report card comes for that first year. I was, enrolled, and my mother looked at these grades, and she was like, "Well, thank goodness you're going into the military because I'm not paying for you to go to college anymore." But there was never like through high school, like we weren't going to look at colleges. There was no visiting whatever university. No one was saying, hey, have you applied to any colleges? It never came up. It never happened. Or maybe it did, and I just wasn't listening.
There were a bunch of people saying it, you just didn't hear it.
Oh, that absolutely could have been, a part of it. So like as many of these, there were plenty of positive influences around, but I don't remember that conversation ever coming up like, hey, if you want to get into college, I don't know, I come from a family of like construction workers, electricians, blue collar, like get a job, work your ass off, and like everything's going to be all right. So, man, I had no problem trying to follow in that aspect of life.
I was thinking about this the other day because very much like you, when I was in high school, I was a knucklehead, doesn't sound like to the level you were, but I barely made it out. But college was never discussed. And my dad would be like, I'd bring home D's or C's and you're like, well, these are shitty grades. You should do better. But that was the extent of the conversation. There was never any conversation of, hey man, you need to go to college, But when you say that, there were no college visits or anything like that, I even think about my social circle, and I don't even remember my friends really talking about wanting to go to college or the college experience. And again, if they were saying it, maybe I just wasn't hearing it.
And it's funny because
if you're like me and you love your coffee, my go-to lately has been Blue Line Roasting. They're a Tennessee-based and law enforcement-owned company, roasting small batches of premium beans. You've got choices from Patriot, which is their light roast, to Failure Drill, their dark roast. They roast all their beans fresh, within 48 hours, and ship them to you even faster. You can also get your beans ground for you or delivered whole. Your choice. But here's the cool part. A portion of what you spend goes to support law enforcement families dealing with the impact of line-of-duty injuries or loss. You get an incredible coffee, and they get the help they need. Choose a single bag, a sample pack, or start a subscription so you're never out of coffee. Oh, and shipping is always free. Also, for the listeners of this podcast, use the promo code TRANSITION10 to get 10% off your purchase. So head over to bluelineroasting.com and make every cup count.
I think of all just the mischievous knuckleheads that I grew up with. We're going to hardcore shows, and I was actually just thinking about this on a run this morning when, growing up, and I was listening to another podcast, but they were talking about music and hardcore shows and stuff like that. I'm like, oh man, I used to go real hard and I'd be in the mosh pit. And again, I'm just anything we were doing, I'm going to take it up another level. We're doing drugs, I'm going to take it up another level. And so for that point of, was this conversation happening in my house? I don't know. Maybe I wasn't listening, but apparently it was happening in all my friends' houses. And so this whole time I'm thinking we're going to be just this gang of, idiots, just getting into trouble. Well, they all went to college. All of them. They all went it's amazing. I look back and see how successful every one of these guys that I was and girls that I was I thought I was getting in trouble with, but I was getting into trouble and they weren't. And I thought we were all doing this thing together, and apparently it was just me because I was cranking it up a notch.
What do they say? Like if you're playing poker, if you sit down at the table and you don't know who the fish is, you're the fish. In your mind, you were one of them, but they were like, no, that's the knucklehead of our group. We're just tolerating him.
God, man.
Because you would think by osmosis, if you're around a bunch of other kids who are heading off to college, there would be a point that you would assume you might kind of go, man, I got to pull my head out of my ass. I got to get my life squared away. And apparently it never happened, or at least didn't happen right then.
No, it didn't. It didn't happen right then. And the other part too is, I can go out and party and, get into all sorts of mischief and trouble, but I also liked money and I like to work. And so I would have 2-3 jobs at a time as a teenager, which was also keeping me busy and keeping me out of the house and allowing me to go get into all sorts of other, things I shouldn't have been. But I was trying to stay away from the house as much as possible because I knew if I spent too much time there, also like my parents would eventually like see through, I can remember coming home at night and like, listen, you walk into the house, like you go say hello to everyone in that house. Right? That's just a family dynamic. I go kiss my mother on the cheek. I go kiss my father on the cheek. And I can remember like coming in the house like hi and like kissing my father on the cheek saying, hey, I'm home. And he would just look at me. You have to say anything. The look told me and he knew I was up to something I shouldn't have been. But yes, all my friends, they got the message. Apparently I didn't. It never happened, or I wasn't listening.
So how does the military come into the picture then? Did you have other people in your family that served?
Yeah. So kind of, and I say kind of like so. I mean, my grandfather came to this country in 1914 from Sicily. And as things went back then, he came over on a ship to start a new life. World War I was kicking off and happening.
We're sending you back.
That's it. They put him in a uniform and sent him back, right? I so much, he died before I was ever born, right? So I never had conversations with him, things people didn't talk about. I have a picture on my wall still to this day of my grandfather in his uniform. But I know he served in World War I in some aspect. My father was drafted in World War II. He didn't serve in combat, but he was in the Army during World War II. And then I have a couple uncles who were in Korea. Other than that, there's no one in Vietnam, no one beforehand. There's no real talk of the military. I didn't have people in my community that I knew. It was really, it wasn't something that I thought of growing up.
Well, to put it in perspective, though, what year did you graduate high school?
2002.
So you experienced 9/11 very close to it.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember going to school that morning, and I can remember two of my friends, Joey and Anthony, and they like came back in. They're like, a plane just hit the World Trade Center. I'm like, you guys like make up the most stories like I've ever heard, and sure enough, another plane hits the other tower, and because of how close we're in New Jersey, but because of how close we were to New York City, a lot of our fellow students had family members who were firefighters, police officers, first responders, or working on the stock exchange. My uncle, my godfather, actually, he also worked down on Houston Street, or Houston Street for those of you out there. So he worked on Houston Street, which he had to walk home from Manhattan to Staten Island that day. But some of our fellow classmates lost parents, So it was close, and that was a time where the community really came together too, and I think that's the first time having a reason or that feeling came up of like being a patriot, right? What patriotism is, what this country stands for. We talk about September 11th, but we also remember September 12th when every house had an American flag hanging, lining the driveways. The community come together, filling up trucks full of food and resources to bring down to ground zero to support all those in the rescue efforts down there. And that I remember on the back window of my car, I wrote like "Kill Bin Laden," right? And it was like, yeah, we're gonna get revenge, and like but although that was there, like I don't really know like what that entailed, and like how do we do this?
Somebody else is gonna do it
rather than this, testosterone-filled, angry, 17-year-old, right, wanting justice for the community and the loss that we had suffered, that day. So although that was very, very close and we could see the smoke from where we lived and, it really affected the community, I'd love to sit here and tell you and everyone else that like I joined because of 9/11. And even though I still feel like in some capacity that was like something behind it all, it wasn't. So how I wound up.
Well, but the flip side of your social dynamic group or your social group, there were the group that were planning to go to college.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't other buddies of yours who maybe weren't looking at college who then started going, maybe I'll think about the military and kind of pull you in that way?
Well, not necessarily, not intentionally, at least. So, this is, a year after getting out of high school. Yeah. So again, like I was enrolled in college, wasn't really doing well. So a buddy of mine, Baldy, so he always talked about the military. He was the one like playing commando all the time and talking about, kicking ass and taking names and just being this, commando. And one day he calls me up. It's, I don't know, maybe a Saturday. Didn't matter. I really wasn't following a schedule. Like I was driving the ice cream truck, working at a flea market.
If you tell me it's Saturday, it's Saturday.
Man, sure, right? So before he calls me up, the night before, we went to a party for another friend of ours who had just gotten back from Marine Corps boot camp. And so we go to this party at the American Legion was happy to, have this space for us to have a party for our friend who's getting back from Marine Corps boot camp. And we get into an all-out brawl. People are getting thrown through trophy cases. People are getting thrown downstairs. And
so it's just a normal Saturday night.
Just a normal Saturday night, just being a bunch of knuckleheads. And, we barely like got out of there before I remember we hopped in a buddy's car. We drove out of that parking lot just as the cop cars were coming in, right? So we're safe. So the next morning, my buddy Baldy, he says, hey, I'm going to go down to the Marine recruiter. It's cool, man. Like,
have fun.
Good for you. She's like, do you want to take a ride? I'm like, what day is it? What time is it? What am I doing here? I'm like, sure, I'll take a ride with you. So we drive down to the Marine recruiters. I've never stepped foot. I've never spoken to a recruiter before. I think I've seen them in like the high school hallways at some point. Didn't care. I didn't see them in uniform and be like, wow, I'd love to, I'd love to crawl out of the swamp and fight dragons, with the sword, right? Like, no, that's fine. It didn't work on me. I'm good. So I take a ride down to the recruiter. Hey man, I'm here to give you support. Whatever you're doing, I don't know what it is. We didn't step into the Navy recruiter, not the Air Force, not the Army, nothing. just a Marine recruiter. We go in and they do what they do. They separate us. We take the ASVAB tests. And they're like, hey, you did really well on the ASVAB. Again, like, I'm like a D student here, and again, like, I know I'm not applying myself. I'm not an idiot, but I take the ASVAB and I scored really well. Whatever that was, if I can remember, I got like 112 on like the mechanical portion, and maybe it was 112, 120, I don't know. All I know is they're like, you could pretty much pick any job you want. Awesome. So I choose, I'm looking at stuff. I choose a job, and the job I choose is, I wanted to be a helicopter mechanic. But then I didn't pass the colorblind test. So apparently, if you want to work as a mechanic on a helicopter, you got to see colors.
Shitty requirement.
Yeah, right? Like, what wire is it? It doesn't matter. Match them up. So, like, you can't do that. I'm like, all right. I know I want to be in the air. I can remember having a dream as a kid being in a helicopter, right? So I'm like, all right, well, I can't do that. I'm certainly not equipped to fly. So they say, like, well, here's this job. It's air logistics support. You get to go to jump school. I'm like, I get to jump out of planes? Sign me up. Cool. Let's do that. So again, like, and this is all like, they're just filling out the paperwork here, right? Like, where are you going to go? So finally, they put the contract in front of me. Like, all right. Here you go. So this tells you you're going to get this job, blah, 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 blah. Go ahead, sign here. I'm like, oh, hey, listen, I'm not signing anything here. I got to go talk to my family. I got a girlfriend, like, no one knows I'm here, And so, Gunny, I want to say a Gunny Gonzalez. Like, I might just be like making this name up. But he looks at me and he knows exactly what he's doing, right? He's played this part time and time again. He takes the contract, pulls it away from me. He goes, you're not going to sign my contract? I'll never sign you up for my Marine Corps. I'm like, you're Marine Corps? Like, you're telling me I can't sign it? Give me that paper. Give me that pen. I signed my name on that contract. I'll show you. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Here I go.
What was that conversation like with your mom and dad?
So I don't remember exactly. I really don't think I had any understanding of the impact of this very spontaneous, random, unplanned decision.
What'd your girlfriend say?
Again, I don't remember at all. And I had this conversation with my mother maybe like a year or so ago, and I remember asking her, like, do you remember like what that was like? And again, like I can't remember this conversation. She was like, we were just like, we had no idea like this was something that you had ever like thought about or planned. And again, because she was at work all the time. So, and I looked at her dead in the face. I was like, I didn't. Like, I just took a ride with Baldy. Like that was like the plan for the day. Like we were just like, I was just going to lend support. And even when we left the recruiter, I'm walking out like, again, I didn't say anything to him. I'm just saying like, hey, we're doing this, right? Like you came here to sign up. I took a ride with you. And we get in the car. He's like, you didn't sign anything, did you? I was like, yeah. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, like you didn't sign up? No. I'm like, oh, all right. He wound up signing up like 10 years later.
Do you ever tell you why he didn't sign up that day, even though that's what he wanted to do?
No. I think he was just going to like check things out, and this was just part of that process. And again, I was just like, oh, we're doing this? Like, let me show you how tough I can be and take this up another level.
How far off in the future was your ship out date?
So let's see. So I signed the contract in, I still can't believe I signed the contract in March. And I only remember this because I remember And whether it was like a couple days before or a couple days after I signed this contract, I remember seeing our troops pulling down the Saddam statue in Baghdad. I remember that very clearly. And originally, so I was in the delayed entry program. And so I was supposed to ship out in, I think it was October, because October was my father's birthday. So I wanted to be home for his, 900th birthday, or whatever that was, right? So whatever reason, like that was like the date I chose, October. So as time kind of goes on, and I'm like, again, I'm driving an ice cream truck, I'm working at a flea market, my friends are in college or about to come home from college. I'm not doing anything with my life. And I think I start to notice that I'm just kind of here. I'm just existing. And, like you asked earlier, like, did anyone talk about college? Like, I had no idea, like, about going to college, except for the community college I was enrolled in. And I also, like, I never thought of, like, a career. Like, what am I going to do for a career? How am I going to support a family someday? I was living in the moment. I was living in the day.
You were basically just enrolled in the community college, just starting with the general ed stuff, and I'll figure it out later. Did you have any prospect of what type of degree you were going to eventually get if you stayed that long?
Absolutely not. No, not at all. I even went to one of my buddies who has become a very successful artist. I took a class with him on, God, man, I don't know. I think it was like Excel or Windows or something like that. He was into like computer graphics and things like this. But I took the class with him just because like he was in the class, so I'll take the class too. And so
you had an amazing life plan as a young adult.
What an idiot, right? Like he's like zero interest in like actually formulating a plan for life. I'll figure it out. I've got no problem working. You need me to dig a hole, dig ditches, you'll pay me for it. Like, I'll do it. Sure. No problem. That I'll do. Like, I'll do hard work. I had no plan at all. I'm just existing here, March, April, and I finally decide, I was like, I'm not just sitting around here anymore. Like, I gotta go. And so, again, I don't remember the conversation. I don't even know if I said to my parents, like, hey, I'm leaving earlier. Again, I think they're still just, watching the horrors on the news from Iraq and Afghanistan and still dealing with that. I'm not that, again, I'm not even planning into that future either. Also during this time, in the delayed entry program, they have like these field days. And so my recruiter is always like, hey, there's every Saturday, right? You come, you work out, you learn about the Marine Corps, all this other stuff. Hey man, I got a job. I've got some bills. I've got a car, right? Like, I don't have time for this stuff. Like, I'm not coming and playing freaking games with you guys. Like, I was working out. I was still exercising. Apparently not enough. But so one day I call the recruiter up. Again, it's like April. Maybe it's early May. And I call up the recruiter. I'm like, hey, I'm ready to go. He's like, what? You're not supposed to leave till October. What do you mean you're already ready to go? I'm like, I got to get out of here. He's like, okay, it doesn't work that way. Hold on. He's like, now we have to we got to see if you got into some trouble, so they have to do some research and make sure there aren't warrants out for my arrest. And I mean, they weren't far off, but there wasn't, right? So I realized that I had to go, I had to get out of here. And, what was I doing hanging around here? Let's start this next chapter, whatever this holds. So I left, I should say I got to MEPS on June 1st of 2003.
And where's MEPS at?
That is in Fort Dix, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah. And so this is where like I talk about like having no plan. I get to MEPS and they're like, oh, hey, you chose this job as this logistics, air support, delivery. Yeah, it turns out that job is no longer available. I'm like, all right. They're like, so you're going to go in open contract. Okay. Like, this is the first question I ask is like, what does that mean? Like, I haven't asked any questions of life thus far. And now I'm like, I don't know what that means. What's open contract? And the guy at MEPS, the recruiter, he's like, oh, that means when you get to boot camp, there'll be a time period before you graduate where you'll get to choose your job. Whatever jobs are available, you'll get to choose one of these jobs. Oh, great. Sounds good. All right, sign right here. Like, yeah, all right, no problem. No other questions. Like, good to go, open contract. I get to choose whatever job I want. Not a problem at all.
He's trying to say that to you with a straight face, not just busting up laughing.
I still wonder, if like they're like picking up, the landline, like calling the recruiter, like,
got one.
This guy's an idiot, man. Like, great job. But hey, listen, right? It's 2003. Like, we need bodies.
Yeah.
And you're, as long as you're not, not hurt or injured already, like, we'll put you in there.
They always joke about cops and their quotas, their tickets, but you got to wonder if there's, even if it's just shitting around, joking during the day at MEPS, hey, how many people do you think we can get to go open contract?
Oh, there's gotta be. There's gotta be.
Beers at the end of shift.
Right. Yeah, exactly. We got a pool going on right now. You think about that. What's the over-under on this guy? Like, yeah, he looks like an idiot. Yep, we'll get him.
Stupid question for the Marine Corps. You're East Coast, so you're supposed to go to Parris Island.
Parris Island.
Do they even give you the option?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean...
So it's not like, I mean, I know way back in the day it was never, but I thought I've talked to some people recently where the last maybe 10, 15 years, whatever it is, they'll actually give you the option, hey, Parris Island or MCR or, Pendleton, MCRD.
Oh, yeah, I'm so glad they didn't. Or they didn't just like choose one or the other. Yeah, back then it was like, you're East Coast, you're, east of the Mason-Dixon line. Yep, that's it, right? You're going Parris Island on the other side of the Mississippi. Yeah, you're going
San Diego.
San Diego.
Got it.
So, yeah, recruiter picks me up, takes me to MEPS, go through MEPS, sign my open contract, get put on a plane, land somewhere. I don't have a lot of questions. All I know is I get off a plane somewhere in South Carolina. There's a bunch of guys yelling at myself and the other people getting off the planes like, you guys need to chill out, man. Like, I don't know what you guys are yelling about. And again, like, I grew up in a home of yelling and, physical punishment, so like, you're not, like, if you think you're scaring me, you're not scaring me. This ain't gonna work, but I'll follow you. So yeah, we get in there, make my phone call. Hey, Mom, Dad, made it. Good. I'll write you a letter. That's it.
How was boot camp experience?
So boot camp experience, so remember how I was saying that like there's this like field day on the weekends before you ship out? Apparently they learned a lot also about like general orders and like Marine Corps history and how the rank structure works and all these things that would have been really, really helpful had I like applied myself. So it was an eye-opener in that aspect of I had to learn a bunch of stuff that now all these other guys like are reciting because they know it. They did the training. Like, where did you guys learn this stuff, man? You got like a cheat sheet? What's happening here? And the other part too is being this Antonio Bonfiglio or Bonfiglio.
I was going to say they didn't miss the G.
No, they didn't. They didn't miss the G, right? So Bonfiglio turned into Bongholio and all sorts of other, mispronunciations that I couldn't really fix. So being from the East Coast, especially New Jersey, the very Italian name that I have, it was like, all right, this freaking wise guy here, you know, we're just gonna like give him the hardest time. And, you know, you have a lot of Southerners, you know, and a lot of people not from the Northeast who join. And so, man, I'm getting razzed left and right, but I also, I have no bearing, right? So I'm laughing, like they're yelling at us, and I'm thinking this is hysterical. And so they would like call me in the office sometimes, and they had their other drill instructor buddies over, and they'd shut the door and be like, this is Recruit Bond. Recruit Bond has no bearing whatsoever. Dude, you're like, no, sir. You know, just laughing like, shut the fuck up. Why are you laughing right now? I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. But I would also, then came like the physical effort, right? The learning thing, that was hard. The physical effort, like you want to take me to the sand pit and haze me? Cool. Let's go. Like I am all about that. I'll do your push-ups. I'll do your sit-ups. Yeah, I'll do your pull-ups. Like, not a problem at all. So, anytime we were called out to the pit, like
Let me guess though, don't make me run.
Don't make me run. No, we'll get there. So, anytime we would get out to the pit, I was soon to be let back inside. Right? Like, he's good. He's strong. He'll do the work. Like, you know, let's put him in other places. Then came the running. I was in the back of the pack. I shouldn't even say the pack. I was in the back of the line. I mean, I was huffing and puffing and struggling and wheezing and having a really hard time. And there was me with my short little legs. And then there was this tall guy, Blankenship, next to me. He was the tallest one in the platoon, and I was one of the shortest, if not the shortest. And I, you know, it was always like a battle between him and I, just trying to fall into these runs. It was so hard. I really struggled with that, but that was fine.
Knowing you were going in, did you not ramp up your running and your cardio and all that going?
I thought I did. I really did, man. I thought I did, and you know, this is as far as like when I would run, I didn't have a fitness tracker, right? I didn't have a GPS device. I think I might have like clocked something with my car, and then I would go and like run that. And you know, what time did I leave? What time did I get there? So I remember one time, I think it was a mile from my house to a buddy's house, and I run to his house and I get there, and I'm feeling good. And I'm also running in like Reebok classics. Like I'm not running in running shoes. Not that it matters, but like I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I'm feeling happy, and I tell my buddy's father, like, yeah, I just ran from my house to here. 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm ecstatic. He's like, you think that's good? I was like, I don't see your fat ass out here doing it, you know? But again, so like I thought I prepared, and I really didn't at all for that cardio aspect of it. Not only was there the running part, then there's the humping part. There's hiking with all of this gear on, and a rifle, and chanting, and you know, like singing these ditties and stuff at someone else's pace, nonetheless. Like I think that's the other part. It's like, I could run, not this fast, you know, like why don't you start walking real fast and I'll run to keep up. So there was you know, the big thing with boot camp, right? And a lot of people talk about is, hey, they break you down, right? They break you down. Man, again, I'm one tough son of a bitch. You're not going to break me down, right? I don't care how much you haze me, throw me in the gear locker, you know, knock me down. I'm going to keep getting up. So we're on our longest hike. And again, it was either 10 or 12 miles, full gear on, full kit. And I'm a squad leader at this point in time. And I'm falling back. I'm supposed to be a leader, and I am falling back. And as that leader, the expectation, right, is you're going to lead by example. These guys who are under your squad, right, they need to see you can lead them. And I'm falling back and I'm handing off gear, right? I'm handing off my rifle. That's the last thing you want to do. I'm handing off my pack, right? My rifle. And by the end of it, I'm literally like arms around two other guys and like they're almost carrying me, right? I'm barely using my legs to finish this hike. Yeah, this hump, right, as we called it. And I remember we get back, we put all our gear down and we're standing on line and drill instructors are doing their drill instructor things. And they come over to me and they're like, and I can't remember the words, but all I knew was like, man, I was hurt. Physically I was hurt, but now I thought I was in a position of leadership that now is taken away from me. You cannot be a squad leader if you can't take this hike. If you're going to fall out and hand off your gear. And that's when I can remember my senior drill instructor in my face, just laying into me. Freaking tears are rolling down my cheeks. And I knew it. It broke me.
Well, it's like that thing of, you talk about, we were both raised in the same type of household of, there was no delay in physical punishment. You got backhands, but the worst would have if when they just look at you, go, you disappointed me. It's like,
that's the worst, man.
God, just punch me.
Paul, hit me, beat. I'll take the spoon, the belt, the shoe. I'll take all that. I don't want to be a disappointment.
Yeah. In general, would you say once you were in though, did you like being in the Marine Corps?
Ooh.
At the boot camp experience. So while
hell no.
Okay.
No, absolutely not, man. Like this sucks, but like I don't think it was until I found out what open contract meant. Like that.
We're getting there.
That changed the game. I think from the physicality of boot camp, like I'm with a bunch of other guys from all over the country, black, white, green, orange, yellow, red, whatever, doesn't matter. We're all going through this thing together, right? I got nothing. I got the girl back home that, Jody is with, but I got nothing else. Like I don't really care about the physical stuff. It's when I find out that open contract is not what I thought it was.
It's better.
Oh yeah, you get to choose whatever job you want. So they're going
Here's
around
a list of one.
Oh man, yeah. Not even a list. Like this is your job. That's it. You are assigned. And man, and obviously like down the road, I look back like, man, I wouldn't have had it any other way. Like best and worst times of my life in that job, in that MOS. But man, that wasn't what the plan was. So the talk about like, when did it like start to suck? And like, I start to think like, fuck, I don't know if I signed up for what I thought I signed up for. So they go around the room. They're like, all right, you're an 03, you're an 03, you're going here, you're going there. And they look at me, you're like, 1371. Okay, and this is the first time I'm asking a question. Or the second time maybe. What's that? Combat Engineer. Combat Engineer. I have no idea, like, what is this job? And one of the drill instructors looks at me, puts his fingertips in his ears, and he's standing up and he starts stomping around on the ground. Like, you're a human mind detector. I'm like,
sounds amazing.
Holy shit. Like, what do you mean? I'm a human mind? Yeah, you're gonna find landmines. I'm like, oh my, now I'm gonna die. I am 100%. I'm going to die. And I remember writing my recruiter, and like the guy who we went to the party for after he graduated boot camp, he went in as like an admin, you know, whatever, like person, administrator. He's behind an office desk. Oh man, like I am really starting to regret this decision now, again, because I didn't ask any questions. I signed contracts. I have no idea what I'm doing. Now I'm fucked. And so I write my recruiter like, hey, is there any way you can change this? And again, I'm so glad that he was like, you're an idiot. Like, I have other people to worry about now. Like, he never wrote me back.
Return to sender.
Yeah. But I remember being just really disappointed now, like starting to think like, oh no. Like this is real. This is real now. And so, yeah, go through boot camp and...
How long is advanced training?
Well, so boot camp's 13 weeks.
Yeah, and then after that, you go to your advanced training class.
Yeah, so after that, we go to MCT, so Marine Combat Training, and that's right after boot camp. I think I went home for maybe a couple weeks after boot camp. You earn some leave. And again, like now I'm a real tough guy, right? Like, I'm in the Marine Corps.
Another fight, the American Legion?
You know, there might have been a fight somewhere. I can't remember. But so, gosh, I don't even remember how long MCT was. Maybe it was like 5 weeks. Again, I don't remember exactly. What I do remember, though, is this is where now we're learning more weapons training, right? In boot camp, we learned how to shoot our M16A2 service rifle, you know, on the range. I sucked up close, but I was really good from 500 yards. I still wore the pizza box, though. So, like, I barely passed, right? So that was an area I needed to work on. But then in MCT, we learned other weapon systems as well as how to dig fighting holes. So, hey, again, I can dig a hole, right? Just, I'm strong and dumb. Like, let me dig a hole for you. So that was good. I felt I did really well there. I also learned that I had no idea of where exactly I was, geographically speaking. So we're out doing this field op. Again, before we go out on this field op, they put us in a truck. It's covered on both sides. You know, we're shooting the breeze. I'm not looking out the back window, seeing where we're going. Yeah, I have no idea. Like, I'm good to go. You just put me in a truck, drive me somewhere, let me off, no problem. So as far as I know, we're in the middle of the woods. We're digging fighting holes. We're learning how to like set up positions and things like that. And I got a shit. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me grab my little thing of toilet paper here. I'll grab my shovel, and I'm going to start walking into the tree line. No problem. And as I'm walking, I walk past these 3 MCT instructors, and they look at each other. They look at me. They're like, hey, where the fuck are you going? I'm like, you know, I hold up the toilet paper and the shovel. They're like, he's going to go dig a hole, take a shit. I was like, yeah. Like, what else am I supposed to do? Like, hey, knucklehead, you know, there's freaking the head right over there. And like, of course I look and I see a building. Like, oh my God, man. Like, I really have no idea of what I'm doing, what I'm getting into. And so, yeah, I walk over and use the freaking, you know, toilet. That's, you know, right there instead of digging a hole. But I was prepared, you know, again, like, I don't know. I think I've like, you know, heard stories or watched movies. So at this point, like, I'm good to go digging a hole and taking a shit, but I didn't have to do that.
You got to bring comedy.
You have to.
No, I'm saying you had to bring comedy to them.
I hope so. I really do. I really hope they're like sitting at, you know, in a conversation like this, you know, somewhere else right now, like this fucking idiot.
When'd you get to your first unit?
So I got to my first unit November of 2003. And man, like, as I think about it, like, man, what a quick turnaround, right? I go to boot camp in June 2003, go to Marine Combat Training. I go to Combat Engineer School. That was cool, right? Learned how to use explosives and stuff like that, right, for my job. Now I'm feeling a little more comfortable. And then I get to my first unit, 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion, 2nd Marine Division. And As
is there a pucker factor playing with stuff that goes boom when it's your job to be in very close proximity to it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But I feel like we were trained really well. And there's also this like level of comfort you get with stuff like that where it's like, all right, well, like as long as I follow, right, this guidance here and, you know, double and triple check, you know, my gear and the explosives and the blasting caps and, you know what I'm doing, like I'm going to be okay. You know, I'm going to make sure I test that time fuse and make the calculations to make sure like everything goes according to plan. So yeah, there's that pucker factor, but at the same time, like, whatever.
What was driving my question was going way back to, you know, when we first started talking, like you've put up the Tough Guy Act kind of as a defense mechanism. I was wondering if, okay, hey, combat engineer, all right, I'm good to go. Until it's that day where it's like, hey, guess what? That goes boom and we want you within, you know, a foot of it. And then you kind of go, where I'm going with it, does it turn you around? Does it make you kind of go, okay, hey, I gotta square this shit away? Or is it, man, I really don't want to do this. How do I figure out a way out of this?
No, I mean, I feel like the way we did things, I don't know, maybe it always seemed kind of safe, or maybe they presented it as being relatively, you know, safe. And we were always like, when we set our charges and things like that, we were, you know, behind a wall or like a blast shield or something like that. You know, that very first or second boom, like really freaking like cuts through your soul. But, you know, eventually that was pretty easy. You know, the pucker factor I remember the most in training early on was when we were throwing hand grenades. And that was like that moment, like, don't fucking drop this thing, man. Do not drop this thing. And there's always like, you know, there's like, they have this wall, they have like an escape hole behind you that the instructor's going to throw you in if this happens. So obviously this has happened before, you know, and they let you know, like, here's the process if you fuck up. So like, that was like, don't fuck up, man.
There's a reason for procedures.
Yeah.
Somebody's caused a procedure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But, you know, as far as, man, being around explosives is quite an exhilarating experience. And I really got a thrill out of it. You know, you're chasing that. How much boom can we get out of this? And like, how close can I be to get that feeling? You're chasing a high, right? I'm chasing a just very different high now. It excited me a lot.
Well, let's go back to your family for a second. What's their take on you now? You're in the Marine Corps, you're a combat engineer, maybe even more mom than dad. With all that was going on post 9/11, is there just a huge like, oh shit, you know? Or did they ever voice it to you? That fear factor as a parent.
I just remember being just distance, right? There's distance. And sure, it's, you know, North Carolina and New Jersey, right? Like, you know, it's an 8-hour drive. But I wasn't really calling much. My mother's always been the one to like call, be like, hey, how are you? But like, this is also the time where like, you know, cell phones are a thing, but you know, we're not like carrying around cell phones all the time. And, you know, so I don't.
Still doing the nights and weekends to get the maximum use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, so I'm roaming right now. Yeah. Don't text me. I'm not paying that extra, you know, 10 cents a letter. But I don't remember. I really don't. I don't think I was interested in the conversation. What I do remember though, and I was in engineer school, and I think I was flying home right after for like a couple days of leave before going to my unit. It may have been around like Thanksgiving. And again, this is 2003. 9/11 was just 2 years ago, and I'm flying. You know, I might have been flying into like JFK, and I'm sitting on this plane, and I have this book open of all my explosive like knowledge and information, and I'm just studying it. And this woman next to me, gray-haired lady, glasses, you know, very sweet, She's like, hey, what are you reading there? I'm like, oh.
That'll blow shit up.
Yeah. And like, and I'm not the sharpest crayon in the box, if you know what I mean here. And she looks at me and she's like, honey, you think this is the best place for you to be reading that? And it took a second. I was like, oh, gosh, you got a point there, right? I folded up and I put it back in my backpack. I'm like, I'm sorry. Thank you so much. She's like, no, I don't want anyone else to like get the wrong idea, but maybe on a plane it's not the best place. I'm like, no, you're right.
Did you even get any side eye from the TSA guys when you go? Because back then they were checking everything. Or did you get some sort of exemption being active military? Do you remember?
I can remember so many times during my time in service and even afterwards. I feel like as a white military male, I was constantly pulled out of line and like randomly checked. The random, not so random, like we want to make everyone feel like they're being, evenly checked, and like I just stick out, as short as I am, trying to like hide behind people, like they were always pulling me on. And I still have frustrations till this day with TSA, and I do a lot better now. But many, many times I was pulled out of line and randomly, checked. But no, I never got any, pushback, stuff like that. I can remember, especially after my deployments, I can remember because I would use the same bag that I would like carry around C4 with, right, in Iraq. And like, there's residue.
Doing the swipe test.
Oh, man. And it's just like, I'd have to like explain like, hey, like it's my job and like stuff like check the bag, go ahead. Like there's nothing in there. But every now and then you talk about that pucker factor, like, did I take everything out? Yeah, I was always nervous about that.
I know friends, and it's happened to me, you use a backpack that you went to some sort of training in, there's some random ammo that's at the bottom, and you're like, fuck, I completely forgot about that.
I remember, I think it was coming back from my first deployment, and that we're going through customs, and in the bottom of my sea bag, I've got some brass knuckles I found somewhere. There's a couple rounds of ammo. I think that was it. But, and it's like, they're just like in a pocket of some, item, and it goes through the machine, and they're like, you have 60 seconds to empty this bag, find those items, and stuff this bag, back shut again. And like, 60 seconds, anyone who's ever been in a firefight before, like, it seems like forever, but you get the job done.
When was your first deployment?
That was January of 2005 to Fallujah.
What was it like for you?
So, first deployment was, I think that's where when people ask me where I grew up, I usually say Iraq. Because that is where I became an adult, and very fast, where life took a new meaning, not necessarily a good or bad, right? But things definitely changed. And so I got to, like I mentioned before, January 2005, we got to Fallujah. Oh, before getting to Fallujah, we fly into TQ. And so in TQ, we board these 7-ton trucks, and we are now going, we're getting the information, right? So we're going to drive through the heart of Fallujah. Now, this is right after Operation Phantom Fury. So that second push through Fallujah, the second battle of Fallujah, and we're going to go relieve our other platoon from our same unit, 2nd Combat Engineer Battalion. So we're going to go relieve them. And as we're getting the info, they're like, hey, usually we got, 5-6 IEDs a day down this route here. We're going right through Fallujah. We haven't found any IEDs today. Great. It's going to be our lucky day, right? We're going to find it. So we get on these trucks, and some people don't realize, and maybe it was just me who didn't realize, that seems to happen a lot if we're getting, here. So it's cold. It's January. And yes, it's Iraq. And yes, it's the desert and it's hot. It's also cold. It gets cold. So we're in the back of this truck, and all of a sudden, I have to pee. And I'm starting to... Right now it's getting uncomfortable. We're still not there yet. And I'm looking at all the bombed out buildings, right? And anyone who's watched any movies, I don't know, Google search, like any war-torn city, this is it, right? There is nothing happening, and it is just eerily quiet, and there's destruction all around us. And we're in this convoy of maybe 5 or 6 trucks, and our platoon is, on a couple trucks here. And now I've got to pee real bad. It's uncomfortable. So now I have to figure out, what are my options here? Option number 1, I hang my very important member out the side of this truck here, and hopefully, as a 19-year-old, I don't lose the most important thing to me right now. When this IED that's going to go off, right? Shirley's going to go off as soon as I, hanging out the side. So, all right, I'm not doing that. That's out of the question. Option 2, I can knock on the window of the drivers and say, "Hey, can you halt the convoy in the middle of the worst place in the world right now so I can get out, so I can pee?" Not to mention, it's not just me who's going to have to get out. We're going to have to do a 360-degree perimeter. This is not a good idea. Also, I don't want to be that guy, right? So, all right, I'm not doing that. Option 3, I piss my pants. I'm going to go with option 3. All right, so I am thankfully very warm for maybe 30 seconds, right? So, and of course, it seems I'm taking the longest piss of my life at this moment in time. And nobody knows this is happening, by the way. And also, keep in mind, if and when you piss your pants in a war zone, everyone automatically assumes, right, you're scared to death, right? That's why you've pissed yourself. So I have a lot of explaining to do. Now, this all starts as once we get to what Camp Fallujah was at the time, which wasn't built up like it became later on. So we get to Camp Fallujah. My buddy Hidley he's helping people off the back of the 7-ton truck. And, there's essentially a hand on the side, a hand on the butt as you help guide people down. And I'm like, "Don't touch me." He's like, "Oh man, you sit in water?" I was like, I have no shame, right? I wouldn't tell the story if I did. I'm like, "No, I pissed myself." And everyone's like, what the fuck? Now, also, it's important to note that I had a nickname, and because of my last name, Bonfiglio, not a lot of people can pronounce that. Plus, it's spelled Bonfiglio, so it was Bon for a time and still is. But also, I was given a nickname of Fat Tony. If you're familiar with The Simpsons, there's a character, Fat Tony. So because of my background, where I'm from, all that, I had this nickname of Fat Tony. Well, this nickname soon changed to Wet Tony. So Wet Tony became my new nickname after I had pissed my pants on this ride through Fallujah the first frickin' night we get there. So that was an interesting arrival. And when we get to our camp, we get set up. We're getting all the stories and the turning over, right? Getting the rip from the guys we're leaving, and these are battle tested Marines. They lost a couple guys, and we're now taking over their position. And I'll never forget, man, I had a really great platoon commander, Lieutenant Aiken, who really turned out to be just an awesome freaking leader. Very, very thankful for that. But I'll never forget, he'd ask, like, we're doing the turnover, and he'd ask the other platoon commander, like, hey, you know, do you think we can, you know, take a little tour around town, you know, like you show us? And the other platoon commander, the other lieutenant was like, hey, sir, you know, we're not going out unless we have a mission, you know. And I just remember sitting there like, this guy's going to get us killed, you know, for sure. And hey, he was great. And, you know, so that first deployment to Fallujah, I primarily operated around the area of Al-Karma. And, you know, if anyone knows, karma's a bitch, right? So...
And it never comes when you want it.
No, it sure doesn't. Sure doesn't. So we were in support of, the 3-8. So as combat engineers, we would be essentially like sparsed out. Our squads and fire teams would be placed with different companies within 3-8 in order to support their missions. As combat engineers, right, our jobs are to, hey, when we're going house to house, should we need to blow down a door, we've got the explosives to do so. And then we're out finding IEDs on the sides of roads. And again, so I went like being colorblind and like I'm trying to find freaking copper wire, you know, just laying around like on the landscape somewhere. The other thing too, we've got det cord and time fuse, which when you're holding them, both of them up close, they look different. But when they are out in the Iraqi sun for sometimes days, right, like those colors fade, right? So like I am really doing my best here trying to decipher like what is what, because I can't tell you the difference in color at this point. One goes boom right away and one has a little bit of time in between. So that was always interesting.
A very stupid question. How does that just not preclude you from being able to be a combat engineer?
They needed bodies, alive or dead, right? Like they needed bodies, and I was filling a hole. Like I have no idea when that whole like open contract situation. They're like, you can't be a helicopter mechanic because you're colorblind, yet you can go work with explosives and.
But I mean. Again, very stupid question. Is there not a training scenario in your first 2 or 3 weeks at advanced training where they're like, all right, put the red wire here, blah, 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 and you're like, I can't tell you which, or can you at least tell the red wire from the blue wire and the green wire?
So
by color.
It depends. There's some factors here, right? And like det cord has
those subtle reds and greens, and you blend them close together.
I'll tell you what, like when I was first getting my driver's license, right back when I was 16 years old, back then you'd put your face in this box, and listen, they click on a slide. What color is that? Red. Click on another slide. What color is that? Green. They click on another slide. Now again, like now I'm doing process of elimination here, right? Orange. I mean yellow, right? Like because I know it's supposed to be yellow. I'm like the lens is just dirty, so I looked orange for a second. So like that's how like bad like I would wear purple shirts in school. Be like, why are you wearing? It's like it's navy blue. It's like no, that's purple. It's navy blue. So again, like there's a lot of colors that mix up to me. So det cord and time fuse also have a different like texture to them, so I could see and feel that. But again, like the red and like the green, when they fade, for me, they look very, very similar. And I could only say, thank you, God, for guiding me throughout my time in the service, because someone didn't look at that paperwork when they assigned me to this job, and I wouldn't have them change it. I really wouldn't. But yeah, no, I don't think I should have been in that role, being colorblind for sure.
So you've just got a varying degree of, because you can see certain colors, just don't put them real close to another one. Don't get the subtleties, you know, like red is red, but when you start getting into like the maroons and shit, it's like, shit, has that gone red or is it brown?
Yeah, well, and a good example of that is when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was trying to get into the NYPD. And they put all these colors out. They're these like round cylinder things, and you line them up, and then you have to like put the shades like next to like shades, and essentially it's supposed to go from like light to dark or dark to light. What I don't remember exactly, not that I could see colors really well, but I do remember, and this is after my time in the Marine Corps, like I lined up all these colors in the pattern at which I thought they were supposed to go in, and when they flip them over, there are numbers on the bottom, and then the numbers are supposed to like connect to dots on a piece of paper, and it was supposed to form like a circle. And for me, when they like line the numbers up, it formed like a pentagram, right? These lines were like all over the place. I'm like, it's supposed to look like that? They're like, no. Now, hey, like, again, talk about like just my really awesome run-ins with law enforcement over the years. Like, they were super, like, they were willing to work with me as a combat, veteran at this time. And they shut the fluorescent lights off. They opened the windows up to get fresh light in. They shut the windows. They shut the shades. They put all the fluorescent lights on. And really, they worked with me. And eventually, I couldn't pass it to save my life. And finally, they, hold up like a blue water bottle, and a red, tab. Like, what color is this? Red. What color is this? Blue. Congratulations, you passed. But yeah, like I can see colors, but everyone thinks like, oh, so you see gray. Like, no, I don't see gray. I can see colors. I just get very confused when that pink car looks gray to me.
Yeah.
Like, that will happen. So back to Iraq, right? As a combat engineer.
Let's be honest. We're hard on our sunglasses, especially first responders and military members. They get dropped, scratched, left on the dash, or crushed in our gear bags. Frontline Optics gives you the same premium quality and eye protection without the high price tag. Sure, you can spend big money on the designer brands, but why should you? From polarized UV 400 lenses to anti-reflective and water-repellent coatings, every pair of Frontline Optics glasses is built to handle the demands of the job. And here's the best part. When life happens and they break, Frontline Optics has a no-questions-asked replacement program, even for prescription glasses. If that's not enough, Frontline Optics was founded by a firefighter, and a portion of every sale supports the First Responders Children's Foundation, helping the families of those who gave everything. If you're looking for sunglasses that look good, are built tough, and that come from a company that gives back, visit frontlineoptics.com and use the promo code TRANSITION10 to get 10% off your purchase. Frontline Optics, from a first responder for the front lines.
When we first started to get into, some skirmishes and like getting hit with IEDs, there was one occasion that stands out the most, and it stands out the most because I wasn't there. And so the platoon, who we still have like a chat, we all are engaged in to stay connected with one another, and it's named the Purple Heart Platoon. We took 50% casualties, and thank God, like I never got hit, never took a bullet, never took any shrapnel. Man, am I lucky. And it's interesting that as much as I know I'm lucky, there's a part of this brotherhood that, like, I just wanted to be there. I wanted to be a part of it. And so my platoon, I'll say like most of my platoon was out conducting an operation. I think we were like fortifying another fob. Meanwhile, myself and my fire team, we were out supporting another platoon from the unit we were with. And we're literally like sitting in a room playing freaking like spades and hearts and stuff, having a good time. And it's funny too, like a little bit about like where I was, like as chaotic and crazy as being in a war zone can be, the room we stayed in at this fob, on the backside of our wall was the mortar pit. So like, hey, like throughout the day, the night, whenever you're able to catch some shut eye, whenever you're not doing any of these like quick reaction, force things, like you're just hanging out. And so like I would sleep very well, whether or not they were shooting off mortars. And I'm like, I'm in a safe position here. Like I'm good to go. So my platoon, who was out fortifying a different position, they came under intense indirect fire, mortars, RPGs, and I can't even remember like at this specific moment, like how many guys in our platoon got hit, and how many guys from the platoon we were supporting with 3-8, a couple of guys died. And obviously lots were also injured. Our corpsman, right, like earned that title of doc at that moment. Guys were all banged up and patched up. I remember donating blood, to those who needed it. But I wasn't there. I wasn't part of that. And even till this day, right, like we're, part of this Purple Heart platoon. Like I don't have a Purple Heart, not that I want one, but man, I missed out,
That's I'll call it the stupid psychology of these careers. When you're part of a unit and you don't partake in everything that unit did, as odd as it sounds, you don't feel like you were part of it.
Yeah.
Nobody wants. I would probably be willing to bet you that any one of those guys that's in that Purple Heart group would give you their Purple Heart back. But there is that weird thing of, man, I'm on the outside looking in.
And we left there with a couple of guys having multiple Purple Hearts from that first frickin' deployment. And we got banged up, a lot. And yeah, I'm very thankful to have walked out of that with not a scratch on me, So, but like that platoon, that time in Iraq, that deployment, I think it taught me that in the next moment, like I could be gone. And I think you have to be okay with that. I think you have to like really take a moment to acknowledge that, or else if you're constantly in fear all the time, about like, oh my God, like, like I said earlier, when they told me I was going to be a freaking human mind detector, man, I was scared shit. I don't know what the hell I wanted to do with my life. I certainly didn't want to die. But it was in those moments where I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I'll be all right. I don't have anybody at home waiting for me. Again, I got this long-term girlfriend who, I did not even consider before making this choice to join the Marine Corps. My family will be okay. We've got plenty of siblings, to go around. Like, they'll be all right. So, there were times where we would come upon, a potential IED, right? Because sometimes you don't know. And sometimes you're like, oh, there's a hole. There's some wire going into the hole. We would call EOD. EOD is going to be 6 hours out, but as combat engineers at the time, like our job was to defuse roadside bombs. And so we do rock, paper, scissors, shoot, like who's going in, or sometimes it was hey, I'll do it, man. Like you got a kid coming, like you got a wife at home, you have a sweet family, and sometimes I'd be just willing to make that jump into the hole, man. I'm okay. Like I'm all right. If I'm gone, I'm gone. Yeah. So that was.
Well, in a weird way, for that kid that came into the Marine Corps with no real per se future perspectives, put into a position like that of combat is real. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But you compound it with, you're the one who's going to go play with the stuff that goes boom. And you're the one that's supposed to be in the immediate proximity of it and making sure it's safe for everybody else. And that, to me, almost seems like it's going to even drive that mentality of there is no tomorrow. I just got to take today for today. And it can almost work. I would almost say it would be almost a negative, is to not give you any perspective on, hey, I've got a long future, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of moments, there's more than a couple, but like, you know, I could think of one time, you know, me and one of my guys, we decided to like break out the electric blasting system to use. Sometimes it's det cord, you have to do, you know, calculations and, not det cord, timing fuse calculations. And man, there have been plenty of times where like we set up timing fuse, you know, you pull that, you know, blasting pin and like you're waiting like 10, 9, you know, 3, 2, 1, like +1, +2, like, oh shit, man. Like, all right, someone's got to go do the, you know, the Medal of Honor run, right? Like, who's going to check on this? Like, have we given enough time? Did the blasting cap slip out? You know, so you have to like double check all your stuff. But so one time we're using our electric timing system, right? It's an electrical cord to a blasting cap. You flip that switch, you know, hit that button, and that thing goes boom. And you have to be close enough, right? These things are reserved for like just certain times, like when you have cover. And me and one of my buddies, we're on just the other side of a berm, like literally, like there's just a big berm, a big hill. We set the stuff up. We just walk around to the other side. We're like, all right, man, like here we go. Like, how's this gonna go? I have no idea, right? Like, and of course, like you do these things and like things go boom, and then like you have to, again, like so stupid, like you're like putting your head down because now you have shrapnel like falling down all around you. Like, that was cool, that was dumb, but that was cool.
There's the way the book says to do it and the way we have to improvise.
Absolutely, yeah. There's all sorts of like formulas, and the ones I remember most were P equals plenty and V equals vaporize. Man, you just put enough explosives on this thing, just get rid of it.
That first deployment lasted how long?
So that was 8 months, so January till August. And, you know, I think it was supposed to last 6 months, but there's always this period of time where like you're waiting on the advance party from your replacements to come. You're waiting on the rest of their platoon to get there. Listen, just even in civilian life, right? Like, flights don't always come and go when we want them to or when we need them to. So things get pushed back just enough to where we finally get out of Fallujah. We go to Kuwait. We're in Kuwait. We're staying in these like kerosene-soaked tents because that's all we had out there at the time. We're staying in these tents, you know, playing cards, just waiting for our flight out. Hey, we're leaving today. Nope, just kidding. We're leaving tomorrow. Nope, just kidding. Oh, guess what? We are actually leaving today. You get all your stuff together. Oh, nope, just kidding. You know, go put your stuff back. So we played that game for, I don't know, it seemed like forever, but there's no real concept of time. At least I didn't have one. So we leave. Finally, we get out of Kuwait. We're flying home. We stop in Shannon, Ireland. And you know, it sucks to stop in Shannon, Ireland and not be able to have a frickin' beer, especially after you just went through combat. And I get it. You know, you let that, you know, you let that gate open for just enough time. We could do a lot of damage in a very small period of time. So I get it. Like, it still would have been cool, like, you know, been allowed to have like a beer, but you know, we did it. We weren't allowed to drink, and it's all good. I wasn't even 21 yet, so we got home 3 days before my 21st birthday. But before we even landed down in Cherry Point, North Carolina, I remember thinking, this plane is coming in, right? We're making our final descent, and I'm just like, the freaking landing gear isn't gonna go out. An engine is gonna like blow, right? Like, there's gonna be something on the runway. We're gonna flip, and you know, we're gonna die. Like, we're gonna die on this runway. I'm never actually gonna get a chance to see my family or to touch like U.S. soil again. I know it was a weird thought, right? Like, just like, there's no way I could have survived all of this. Like, my end has to be coming at some point. Like, no one gets this lucky as I have after my whole platoon has been hit, you know, like, certainly my time is coming, right?
But you did survive it. You ended up back for a second deployment, correct?
Yeah. So, yeah, we got back August of 2005. And by March of 2006, we were already shipping off back to Haditha this time. But we had a workup right before we get out there. So,
how quickly after you get back the first time are they telling you, all right, start planning your shit because we're going again?
I want to say it was within like 2 months. Like, I remember I took 30 days of leave and went home. And, you know, got back to my unit, and hey, some people are getting out, right? So those people go, you get an influx of new guys, right? Now they're looking up to us as like, you guys have been to war already. Like, we're the leaders. And I feel like I remember, like, they were like, all right, here's your wish lists. Where do you want to go? Iraq or Afghanistan? I'll take the devil I know. Send me back to Iraq, no problem. And even like living in Southern California now, having to like hike, like I hike a lot and stuff and run, and like running mountains, trails and things like that. Like, I would not have been equipped at that time to go to Afghanistan. And man, I'm glad I didn't, because yeah, I just hear the terrain is freaking hellish. Like, I'll take the Iraqi desert, and again, that devil I know.
At that point, you're 2.5 years in?
Yeah.
Are you thinking you're going to do a career at this point?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm thinking, like, what else do I have going on for me? Right? I may as well just do 20 years. You know, if I make it, so what? That's not what happened. I only did my 4, and I got out for a girl. That was dumb.
This is your long-term girlfriend, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So was she immediately, I'll say, against you going in the Marine Corps, or did it build over time while you were in?
Yeah, I really have no clue. I don't think I really cared to ask.
I'm sensing a pattern with you.
Oh, God, man. And you know, like, all those times, like, I look back like, man, I had all these crazy ex-girlfriends. And then you start to like look in the mirror like, oh, I might have driven them crazy. Yeah.
No, I was the crazy ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. Oh, I could definitely see how, you know, I could have caused some of these girls to be like, this guy is just out of, like, I did not consider anyone's feelings but my own in those decisions during that time.
But you obviously got to a point where you considered her feelings enough to not re-enlist. How'd that come about?
So I can remember on my second tour, standing there as guys were re-enlisting and getting some nice hefty bonuses too, tax-free. And I remember thinking like, hey, this seems like a good idea. And my girlfriend, who was also my fiance at the time, who would also provide me with the, you know, Dear John letter at least once while I was there. And again, stupid and foolish. I was like, well, I need to get out and get home because she wants me home. She doesn't want me to stay in. And I can remember I was working with the career liaison. We refer to him as the career jammer, right? They're going to jam up your career, right? They want you to stay in whatever it takes. And I remember talking with him and he was like, hey, all right, so give me a reason why you should get out. I was like, show me a good deli. And he was like, no, I'm serious. I was like, I am serious. Like, show me a good deli. I can't find a good deli around here, you know? And back on the East Coast and Northeast, like, I got good delis everywhere. I want good food. And here we are all these years later. Like, that means absolutely nothing to me nowadays, right? But I was really getting out for a girl. No one's ever done that before.
No, never. No one's going to be able to relate to that aspect of your story. As you're getting out, though, and I guess it's easy to answer this now that you've got, almost 20 years to look back on it. Is there a positiveness to, like, do you feel positive about, like, hey, I'm making this decision, this is the right decision for her? Or it's like, man, I really don't want to do this, but I'm doing it for her.
All I could think of is I really didn't want to get out, and I shouldn't have. Like, the military life is not for everyone, right? Like, the term embrace the suck, right? Like, man, it sucks, but like those guys to the right and left, guys and girls, I never worked with women, sorry ladies, but like those guys to my right and left, like it was always about them, right? Like I said earlier, like I didn't join because of 9/11, like, and I certainly didn't stay in because, like, it was a safe job. I really just, like, I love the circus, man. Like, I loved pushing the envelope. I loved, like, those times where we'd be out on a mission and whoever the platoon sergeant was like, all right, man, I think his name was like Staff Sergeant Green or Walgren, Staff Sergeant Walgren, with 3-8. We'd be somewhere like, all right, we're going to go and like try and stir the pot today. Like, we're going to go knock on doors and see what kind of trouble we get into. Like, and I remember just being so like okay with that. So, and I say all this, like, I'm glad I did get out. Like, if I didn't get out, I really don't think I'd be alive today because of the risks that I took, and the carelessness in which I took those risks. But man, I would have never met my wife, like, and she's been like everything, to me. But yeah, there's plenty of times where like, I even tried getting back in. After I got out, I tried to get back in. Unfortunately, just timing wise, like it didn't work out. But again, if I didn't do that, I would have never met my wife.
Do you have, I'm asking this as almost rhetorical. Did you have anything lined up for what you were going to do?
Absolutely not. No way.
Thank you for staying in line with the same pattern.
Man, no way. I had nothing, zero, nothing lined up. I had no plans. I was like, I guess I'll go back to college and I'll get a job doing something, like, it's fine with me. Again, zero plan at all. Even like when I moved back home, I moved back in with my family first. And that turned into a bad idea very, very quickly. There were some things that happened in the house involving myself and my siblings that like I had to leave immediately because it wasn't good for any of us. And so I wound up moving in with my girlfriend at the time. But thankfully, my uncle, my godfather, he hooked me up. Like, he was working for this financial printer in New York City. It's like, hey, I got a job for you. If you want it, you come work for me. And essentially, it was in like a hospitality type of role where I'm like answering phones, ordering, high profile clients like, AIG, Standard & Poor's, right? Merrill Lynch, like their people come in to do all their like financial paperwork and like I'm ordering them lunch. There was a time, so I'm working in this office building and I get to wear a suit and tie every day. I'm also like packing on weight too, right? Anyway, so one day, the big wigs are in town, and I don't know if he's the CEO or CFO or whatever, right? He was supposed to be important. And I see him and his cronies like walking down the hallway, and I'm respectful, right? So like I see him come, like I grab the door, I open the door and hold it for them, as if I'm about to salute the president of the United States, right? And so I hold the door, And this guy looks at me and like hands me his coffee cup as like, hey, take care of that. And like this feeling inside me that you have no idea who I am or where I've come from or where I've been. I'm simply holding a door for you out of respect. And he may not have meant it in a disrespectful way, but him handing me that cup, that coffee mug, it made me feel irrelevant. It made me feel so small, like nothing. Like it doesn't matter what I did for this country so he can, you know, work in this job, you know, in New York City that, you know, just went through some devastating terrorist attacks just a few years earlier. And so I swallow hard, grab that coffee mug, and I walk back to the kitchen, which is literally like around the corner. Like he could have done it. I get it, right? He's too special for that. And I walk into this kitchen. I kick open the, you know, doors that swing both way, and I freaking smash this coffee mug against the wall. And I'm fuming. I'm so mad. And it doesn't matter. Nobody cares. Nobody's there. Nobody sees it. And not for nothing, like we've talked about, like I have no other plan at this time. Like I have not, like I can't quit this job. I certainly can't lose my shit because my uncle, right, is my boss, and like, you know, that's the last thing that like he needs. And I'm trying to be a good person. But man, that hurt. That hurt a lot, and just that. I had several experiences like that, like trying to blend back in to society post my deployments. And I'm sorry if I took us off track here.
No. I was going to ask, how long are you into that job when that incident happens?
Maybe a few months, maybe 3-4 months.
Overall, though, doing okay with doing that job? No, that was a very poignant moment, and I could truly understand where that could really set you off. But just as a totality, were you okay with the work? Did it just kind of get under your skin all the time? Is your uncle coming to you going, bro, you're not long for this career, are you? Kind of deal. Could he kind of see the writing on the wall?
Yes. Good question. So I took that. So at this time, I'm also going to college. So I decided to go back to college. And when I realized that, like, I can't be people's doormat and their piss on. I can even remember there was another time in this same role where we had a bar. Again, this is like fancy New York, 50th floor of a building, right? Great views.
Is this legitimately something that you could turn into a career? What you and your uncle?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean, maybe people do. And like, I had people who worked with me who've been there for a long time. But I mean, I don't know if they had goals. I certainly didn't, but I didn't want to be there. Right.
Got it.
And one of these moments, like, I'm working the bar, right? Like one night we've got these clients in and I'm working the bar. I don't know what the hell I'm doing behind a bar. Like I'm just getting people beer and like pouring them wine. And, you know, this is when I learned the difference between like what's on the rocks and what's neat. You know, I don't know what neat is. So these two guys sit down and I say, hey, gentlemen, can I help you? The guy's like, oh, gentlemen, don't call me gentlemen. I'm like, all right, sir, how can I help you? He's like, sir is my father. I'm like, look, asshole, like, what do you want? Right? Like, I'm really trying to be freaking professional here, but you guys are like, you're starting to fucking dig. So that was another one of those just moments. But, and then again, I'm going to college at the same time too. And I start to answer your question, like I start to realize like, I got to move up. Like I can't work in this role. And they're hiring for another position in their customer service role. And in this customer service role, so I applied. Again, like I didn't want to also work for my uncle because I didn't want to feel that like I have this job because of him, and otherwise like I wouldn't have a job. So I apply for this role, and comes with a nice like little bump in my pay, and all these things. Like now I'm starting to feel like I'm doing something. So also in college, I decide like I'm gonna change my degree path. And again, it's just community college. I really haven't done anything big at this point. And so I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna follow accounting. And so I changed.
You strike me as an accountant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Barely add, numbers together for you. So I switched my degree to accounting, or at least like the beginning stages of that. I get this job, comes with a raise. Also with that comes my girlfriend, who I'm now living with. We're living in New York. I'm commuting into Manhattan every day. We're in Staten Island, and she's working in New Jersey. And she's like, hey, I'm homesick. I don't know if this is going to work out. I'm like, you're homesick? Like, we're like 35 minutes away. Like, you see your parents like every weekend, if not every day, when you go to work there. And we have this discussion, and she's like, hey, I don't know if this is going to work out. Maybe tomorrow, maybe I pack my stuff. And like, it's like 9 p.m. at night. We're like sitting on the couch having this conversation. We're dating at this point for, gosh, I don't know, 8 years. We've been engaged for like 2 years. I've gotten the Dear John letter while I was out. We've come back together. Like, this relationship is going nowhere. Anyways, not to mention, I've also never considered her feelings in anything that I've done to this point, right? So this job, I'm going to work this midnight shift. She's like, I don't know if I can do that. Like, I think I'm going to move out tomorrow. I'm like, let's pack your shit now. That night, right there, we pack her stuff, pack our car, send her on her way. And essentially, after 8 years, like, that's it. So again, we have this like change in job. We have these feelings of like, I have to do something more. This relationship after 8 years is dead. And now I'm in college, and I've got a new path I'm trying to figure out. And these like relationships with people. Also important to note that I'm distant enough from my family. Like, I'm still close enough, right? But like, I'm not there every day. I'm not calling to check in. The apartment that I live in, my aunt like lives like in the house like above. And in college, I have this teacher, and one day I'm sitting there, and the kids in the class are being disruptive. This is college, right? It's community college, but it's college nonetheless. And I'm paying for it with my Montgomery GI Bill, which things have changed a lot over the years, but at the time, essentially, this is really just covering my books. It's not covering my tuition. I'm not getting, any housing allowance. Like, it's just like, it covers my books or my tuition, whichever one I want. So this teacher stops the class. She's like, okay, you guys don't want to learn. I'll just stand here. I raised my hand. I was like, hey, I don't pay you to just stand there. She's like, excuse me? I was like, yeah, like, I pay you to teach, like, teach. And so we have some back and forth. I'm like, let's go into the hallway and have this conversation, right? I'm thinking I'm an adult. Again, and technically I am, but like, I'm 20,
24,
25 maybe, and the other kids in the classroom are 18, right? Big, 6-year age gap. And so we go out in the hallway, we have some words, I give her my position, all that, like, and again, like I said, like, hey, I pay you to teach. Like, this is coming out of like my sacrifice and my pocket. And I get, these kids aren't. Fine. So I wound up failing this class, by the way.
Shocker.
Yeah. So it didn't work out, but I'm starting to notice there's a lot of these scenarios in my life that's happening all around me. I'm not getting along with people, and I have an opinion, and you're going to hear it. I'm also not going to consider your opinion whatsoever either, right? So it only goes one way in my life.
You mentioned earlier you tried NYPD. Obviously, that didn't work out for you.
Yeah, that didn't work out because of like timing and stuff with the NYPD. It seemed like it was taking a long time. And I never got like a disqualification or anything like that from the NYPD. There was just like, I think there was just like a lot of background stuff they were looking into. I remember at one point you have to put down like all of your family members. And I have some family members who have like other families like involved with, not good things. And so I remember them asking me like, hey, how do you know this person? I'm like, well, they're my brother, but they're like a half brother. So it's like, we're not. And like, I always felt like that was the holdup there. But like, I never like by the time I got anything back from the NYPD to like start the next process, like I had already moved out of New York. But I'm in all of this, I'm starting to notice that like I don't belong, right? Like things aren't like working out, all that stuff. And all that to say that I'm working this job for, this company that my uncle works at. Also, it's my relationship fell apart, right? Like I'm trying to be distant. I'm really trying to like party hard too. I'm putting on a lot of weight. I'm really not taking care of myself, at all. Again, working this midnight shift, bars open, 8 a.m. for me, that works out. I'm not leading a good life. And so as luck would have it, in this 2009 area, I get laid off from this job, right? Anyone who's aware of like the economic collapse of that time, like I'm in it. I have a front row seat to what's happening. And the way I get laid off is I'm getting ready for work. It's like 7 or 8 p.m. My uncle shows up to my apartment, knocks on the door. I'm like, I'm like kind of like half in my suit, and he knocks on the door. He's got a bottle of wine. And something else. I can't remember. It might have been like cannolis or something, right? And he's like, hey, take your tie off. Have a seat, I'm like, what's going on? Why are you here? I got to like leave in a couple hours. And he's like, you're not going to work today. And so, hey, there's these layoffs. Your number came up. They were going to make you travel all the way into the city so that way they can like give you your package and send you home. And again, thankfully, like to be in a position where my uncle was like, you're not making him do that. I'll go tell him. And like, that was like, there was no hard feelings like that. Like I wouldn't have had it any other way. But it's funny, like I worked in this position for like a year and a half, with these people, like from military experience, like you see so many people come and go, whether just transitioning out or death or, you leave. No factor. I never followed up with any of those people that I worked with, ever again. That's fine with me. So I get laid off. I wind up moving out of that apartment, because now like I can't afford it. I'm collecting unemployment, but like I got a car payment, like I have other bills. I just need to find like a way to like save some money. And so I moved back in with my parents in New Jersey. And at this time, like siblings had like shifted rooms around. So essentially like my dad converts the freaking laundry room. It was a really big laundry room, by the way, but he converts part of the laundry room to my room. So now I'm a combat vet. I'm living in my parents' laundry room, and I'm collecting unemployment. I'm working at a flea market on the weekends, making cash, again, because I want to collect my unemployment. And so I wound up finding out that there's this local tree company that was hiring. for like tree removal, stuff like that. And so I get a job working for them. And man, like talk about like to get up and like go do physical labor every day. I started to like find that like I do really well working hard, doing physical labor. And so I'm like, you know, they're cutting down trees, they're chopping them into logs. I'm taking logs, flipping them over my shoulder, throwing them into the chipper. You know, and I like it. I like it a lot. I mean, I think I would have stayed and done that if it wasn't so dangerous and I was able to like have, you know, health benefits. So I'm obviously starting to like think of like,
there's a future.
Yeah, like I'm starting to think of longevity, right? So
I know I'm gonna have to go to the doctor someday.
Oh man. And you know, like I've seen people get hurt on the job, like stuff happens. I'm like, also, I know nothing about the VA also at this time. Like I'm not going to the VA for checkups. I don't know where it is. Like when I got out of the Marine Corps, the way it worked it was called TAPS at the time. TAPS, I don't know. It's called TRS now. Maybe it's called something else, but transition readiness, right? They're supposed to help you transition out.
Isn't it transition assistance program?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. And so I go to this TAPS class, and it's essentially like, hey, create a resume, and not every box on the side of the road is going to go boom. You know, best of luck to you. Get a job, provide, don't beat your wife. I was and again, like to be quite honest, there were some other classes involved in this, but we also noticed that we were in this auditorium and nobody really knew. You didn't have to check out. You had to check in. So we didn't stay the whole time either. So, you know, I checked in, listened to whatever story, and I got out of there. Now they do a much, much better job of, you know, providing more information and really like helping people transition out of the service. Is it great now? No. Is it better? Yeah. So essentially like,
well, it's still largely driven by you have to have an idea of what you want to do and what you want to get to.
Yeah.
Because they're dealing with so many service members, there's no way that they could tailor it specifically to you. So unless you can tell them exactly, this is what I've been told. You're sitting there, you're going through the classes, you're checking the boxes, but if you don't know where you want to get to, you can't ask for the right information. It isn't until you're out 6, 8 a year, you know, down the road that you kind of went, oh, that's what they meant in that class.
There's been a lot of that, you know, for myself over the last like 15, 20 years. Like, yeah, I really started to like grow up like, oh man. I mean, I can remember.
I've heard somebody say that before.
I remember a time, and I want to say I was like maybe 25, maybe even a little bit older, but I remember like calling my mom. I wasn't 25. I was probably like 29 or 30 when I finally had my first child. And I called my mom and be like, hey, I just want to say thanks, and I'm sorry. And I think I'm starting to finally understand, like, all these lessons you tried to tell me over the years, like, really a big help now. Now it is. But I apparently wasn't listening, but maybe just enough. But yeah, so when I'm working and doing this tree removal stuff, at some point I go and visit a buddy of mine in Colorado, and I go out to Colorado to be the best man at his wedding, and his biological father was like, hey, like he was talking about college. He was like, hey, well, you know, if you get a degree, no one can ever take that away from you. And I'll tell you, like, me and this man couldn't be like any more like opposite ends of the spectrum as far as like beliefs and things like that. And that doesn't matter to me, right? Like, but he put this little like drop of wisdom in me. And he's like, you know, maybe you want to think about that. Okay, whatever. But what I also noticed is when I took this trip to Colorado, I don't know, it felt like once I got back home, like it was beautiful. Like went out, we saw these like cool like sights, like, oh man, like I don't have any of this back home. Like I don't have this type of nature around me. Like I live near a city and in a city, and like that's all I really have ever known. And what I'm getting to here is things start to click, right? Like I think I need to get out of where I'm at. You know, what am I doing with my life? I'm freaking cutting down trees for a living. I'm working at a flea market. I'm collecting unemployment. I'm not doing anything.
You're existing.
I'm existing. I am not following any like real desires in my life. Yeah, I'm just existing, collecting a paycheck, paying bills, partying. You know, I'm just doing whatever I can do to be a young, dumb, you know, combat veteran trying to find his way in the world in any way possible. So I get home and I lay out a map of the United States. And I do one of these things, you know, I put my finger in the air, spin it around, close my eyes, drop it down on the map, and I hit Colorado. And I'm like, perfect. I just came back from this wedding, right? I know people there. This is going to be a good opportunity. But wait, again, I'm starting to finally decide that like there are certain things that I shouldn't always do based on that first initial like thought, like, okay, execute now. And so I realized through this, I'm like, wait a second. Anytime I hang out with this individual, as much as he's been there at some crazy times in my life. We served in Iraq together. I was his best man now for the second time. The other times hanging out with him where we'd be drinking and driving, and I can remember, you know, late at night, he's driving and we're just speeding down the road, speeding through red lights. And again, that like thing I talked about earlier, like just being content with death. I was like, well, this isn't really the way I had planned it, but I guess if today's the day we're going to die, then today's the day we're going to die, and I'm cool with that. And I have no idea why no cars drove across those streets as we flew down this road. So anyways, I'm like, all right, Colorado's probably not a good idea.
You can get existential with it, and I would throw it back out there. It wasn't that person's turn to die that day. It wasn't that they weren't meant to not kill you. You weren't meant to kill them.
Oh, man. You know, I think of all these different situations too. And I'm like, I have a reason in this world. And I don't know what that reason is, but God is keeping me here for something. I'm going to figure it out. And so essentially I look and I'm like, all right, Colorado's not the answer. Not only that, like, I do not want to shovel freaking snow another day in my life. Like, this is not something I find enjoyment in. I hate it a lot. Like, especially like living in an apartment where I'd be like, I'd shovel out my spot and then I'd have to like go down the road to get my car only to find out that someone else came down the road and parked in that spot. I just shoveled out. Like, man. So I look at the map and I just kind of like draw a straight line and go, oh, San Diego.
No snow.
No snow. I've seen the movie Anchorman. This sounds great. Now, mind you, the last time I was in California, I was at 29 Palms at CAX doing, you know, Mojave Viper, you know, this training exercise to get us, you know, ready to go on one of our deployments. And it was the worst experience of my life. Freezing cold during Thanksgiving, no hot water. I didn't shower for like 2 weeks, and that's fine with me. I do not care. I wasn't taking a cold shower. Now I do cold plunges, so, you know, but like it was just a miserable experience. The training, the weather, the going and having a Thanksgiving dinner and in this chow hall on 29 Palms where we were training, like they had these huge like turkeys displayed. They had the little booties on and everything. Like, oh my God, we're going to get like quite a meal. And like the slop that they're putting in our plate, I'm like, that's clearly not what you have on display over there. But it sucked. Anyway, so I'm like, all right, cool. Like San Diego, I've seen Anchorman. I'm going to move to San Diego. And I tell my mother. Also, I've had this history of telling my family things on Thanksgiving. So before I joined the Marine Corps, I told my family that, hey, I'm going to be joining the Marine. Like we're like doing the like Thanksgiving prayers, and like I'm leading the prayer. I'm like, and thank you, Lord, for protecting me while I join the Marine Corps. People are like, oh my God, what? Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was, I don't know what holiday that was, but it wasn't Thanksgiving. But it was Thanksgiving when I was actually going to re-enlist. So before I left New York, I was going to re-enlist in the Marine Corps. I think you were trying to get to this earlier when you were asking me about the NYPD. I was also trying to get back into the Marine Corps at the same time. But things weren't working out for whatever reason. Because in 2009, because the economy also, people weren't getting out. Or if they were getting pushed out. So the ability to get in, even with, I got out honorably. Again, I wasn't going to the VA. I barely had a disability rating. I wasn't interested. I didn't know enough about it. And so, essentially they're like, yeah, the East Coast is all closed up right now with, those who are re-enlisting who've been out for X amount of time.
Now, were you trying to go back into the same MOS, or were you open to any MOS? Open contract.
Listen, well, to be honest with you, like there was a point where they're like, hey, that role isn't available anymore. I'm like, I'll take any role. Like I started thinking about like, maybe I'll go to a different recruiter. Maybe I'll become a Navy SEAL. Again, I don't really have enough understanding of what that means. I worked with some of them in Iraq, right? They always had like the coolest gear, like they're all kitted up and made shit happen. So there was that. But yeah, so I'm really trying to think of like, what the hell am I going to do? Like, I want to get back into the Marine Corps. So then I'm like, I'll go reserves, right? Like I'll go reserves and then I'll like activate. Again, still like wasn't happening. So part of the plan when I got out to California was that like I was going to stay here for just like a few months, enjoy San Diego, right? It's a beautiful place. So I've seen, and then I'm going to go hit up a recruiter and try and re-enlist from the West Coast. Because from my knowledge, hey, there's an East Coast general, there's a West Coast general. It's my paperwork sitting on someone's desk somewhere. Maybe it fell into the trash, whatever. But I get to San Diego.
Would it have only been Marine Corps, or would you have considered the Army, Navy?
I was, again, I had thought about it. But really, like, if I couldn't get back in the Marine Corps, like, I would have tried to get into the Navy and maybe go to BUDS or something like that. And again, like, that was a thought, right? Like, I don't want anyone to think that, like, I was trying out for BUDS. I certainly wasn't. And, they're getting that, like, whole tough guy thing. Like, I don't know if I would have frickin', like, made it anyways. But I get here and I move into this home.
If I could point out something, and the basis of this podcast is the importance of planning and preparing for transition. That's why I created it. Mm. Your story to me, and we're going to get into more of it, but just at this point right now, I would like young kids to hear your story, because there's so much pressure put on kids. Hey, what are you going to do with your future? What are you going to do with your life? You're going to go to college. And I'm the first to say that one of the things I think one of the many mistakes I've made as a parent is pushing this idea of go to college, but not pushing the idea of figure out what you want to do with your life. And then if college is necessary, go to college. And what's jumping out to me right now through this point in your story is if somebody would have just sat you down, and you probably wouldn't have been able to answer it. And I don't mean that sarcastically, but you didn't have an idea of what you wanted for your future. So how do you make a plan for the future if you have no idea what you want to get to?
You know, it's such a good question too. And it's so like, and you're right. Like
and the reason why I say I would want kids to hear your story is because so much of what you did was driven by the fact that there was no, I don't want to say the word purpose, but there was no, hey, this is what I want to achieve. You didn't have that carrot at the end of that stick to give you something to look beyond today. You just said right now, my plan was to go to San Diego for a couple months. Nothing that you've said to me, other than saying that you were thinking the Marine Corps for a career, was anything that looked further than a year. You know, and so I really wonder if you could have if it had been that one teacher, if it had been that one voice that you would have actually stopped and listened to. But again, like you said, you wouldn't be where you're at today with your wife and your kids had you not gone through all this.
Absolutely. And I remember as a teenager, you know, and I said earlier, like I always worked like 2-3 jobs. Like, you know how many jobs I worked for a day or half a day? Plenty. I would go through an interview process. I'd go show up on day one. It could have been a shitty manager. It could have been just I didn't like the work, and I would leave right then and there. So many moments in life, I think we just get stuck with like, well, this is comfortable. I may as well stick this out for as long as I can. And that's
definitely a positive to you. And your story is that you didn't let yourself just get, well, I got no other option. So this is just where I'm going to, you know, kind of set my roots, so to speak.
Yeah, I can tell you, like, at like early back when I was dating that girl for so long, I just thought we were just going to be miserable together forever. Like that was probably the only thing where I was like, this sucks, but oh well, I'll just keep doing this for a while.
Got down on your knee. You want to get miserable together?
Oh man, what an idiot. Both of us. So, but yeah, like I never stayed at a job where I was like, this is terrible. Like, let me see what tomorrow holds. Like, nah, I'm out. Like when I talk to people who are just trying to get an entry-level job, it's like, oh, no one's hiring. Like, are you kidding me? I'll go get 4 jobs today. I will keep knocking on doors until someone's like, yeah, we're hiring. And the process is different these days, right? But I never had trouble finding a job just to like, put some cash in my pocket to pay my bills for the time being, right? But I wasn't, during that time, I wasn't looking for a career. I'm like working at supermarkets and flea markets and whatever. Right? Like, you need somebody to dig holes? Like, I'll be your huckleberry. So yeah, right. So I'm like, hey, randomly, like, I'm going to move to San Diego, and I'm going to just figure out life. I'm getting unemployment. That's going to last like another, like, I think it was like 4 to 6 months I had left on that. I had cash in my pocket from working that job, right? I was cutting down trees. I was living with my parents, so I didn't have rent. So I stocked a bunch of cash up, and I found roommates on Craigslist. Like, hey, looking for somebody to move in. It's going to be $500 a month. Like, cool. My my unemployment at the time was like $440 a month. I'm like, okay, that'll work. That'll cover it. And I had like 10% disability for tinnitus. So I'm like, cool. Together, like, I'll figure out the rest, right?
Playing with explosives and your ears ring?
Yeah.
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing. So I get here and I immediately feel something different. Having gone from the military, being part of a group of people and these guys who understood me better than my own family, my own siblings, I've never felt as close to people in my life as I had these group of guys that I served alongside in my 2 tours to Iraq. And so, and unfortunately too, during all this time, right? Not a lot of time has passed, but a lot's happened, right? I've also disconnected from all of them. Like there's the one guy in Colorado that I connected with, but besides him, like there's really no one else I'm really connecting with. I'm just trying to like survive and figure out who I am, right? You look back at all the other wars that we've had, people come back from those wars and it was like, hey, time to get a job and support yourself, right? Like there's no handouts, right? You got to figure out like life, get a job, start grinding, go to work. And so I get to San Diego, and again, I'm only going to stay here for a few months. I'm going to try and get back into the Marine Corps, and very, very quickly. So this is December 3rd of 2009 that I get to San Diego, and I want to be here. Like my feet feel like they belong. The weather is beautiful. The women are beautiful, right? Like I'm living with this group of just an eclectic bunch who like I never saw myself living with. I always say like it sounds like the start of a bad racist joke. You know, it's like, all right, there's a Mexican, a Filipino, a white dude from New York, and you know, this black guy. You know, they walk into a bar. Essentially, that was like this living situation that I walked into. And man, I couldn't be more thankful. Like they really like took me in and made me one of their own, and introduced me to everyone. They took me everywhere. Like I moved in and they were like, hey, by the way, we're going on a cruise in a couple of months. You want to come? I'm just like, I'll find the money. Sure. You know, I'll make it happen. And also it was through them that I met my wife too. So I'm here and I feel like I belong finally. And so I finally decided that like, I'm not going to be here for a couple months. I'm going to go back to college, right? I'm going to figure this thing out. And, you know, to your point where you were saying earlier about like kids and like, you know, you should go to school, you should do this. Like, no, like you're saying, you should find out what you want to do and attack that thing at 110%. And I tell my kids all the time, especially my son, who loves to dress in camouflage and likes to play war and wants to read, you know, World War II history books. I'm like, all right, listen, like, please go to college first, become an officer. If you're going to join, go to like, you know, a military academy. Like, I'm just like, and he's like, well, you know, Dad, when I joined the Marines, I'm like, damn it, you know, and I will support him in anything he ever wants to do as long as it is that thing in his heart of hearts, where he wants to go and what he wants to do. I don't think everyone needs to go to college. In fact, you look at a lot of the most successful people in our society and how many of them dropped out of college because they knew what they wanted to do and they put every effort to do it. But for me, I think I needed to go to college. I needed to learn a little bit more. I needed to learn who I was, and I needed more than just like, I'll dig holes for you type of attitude. So once I realized that like, I need to stay here, I want to be in San Diego, I'm out like running on the beaches of La Jolla, you know, on a December afternoon in like just shorts, no shirt on. And like, I'm in the best shape of my life from all that work I was doing in the tree business. I'm like, I could stay here forever. This looks good to me. And so now I start trying to get into college. And again, I'm a knuckle dragger, man. Like, I'm not the type of person who knows how to fill out paperwork. For my 4 years in the Marine Corps, I barely cracked open a computer. That wasn't my job. That wasn't what we were doing.
When you say you were trying to get in, or getting into college, what degree path were you heading towards this time? I'm assuming you didn't go down the accounting route.
No. I dropped that thing like a bad habit. Oh, yeah, real quick. So at this point, I'm trying to go into the field of athletic training. And you know, I always had like an interest in exercise and helping people and physical fitness. And I had no idea that an athletic trainer was not that. Again, I probably did not read the whole like, you know, application I was filling out, but this is for community college. So I also had a lot of, you know, whatever the like first things you have to do, right?
General ed,
right? I had a lot of general ed I had to do first. And now I'm in a new state. Now, this is the third state that I've gone to community college in. So I also have to take a California history class. I've taken New Jersey history, I've taken New York history, and now I'm taking a California history class. And no matter how many ways I argue around this, like I have to take it. But also, throughout this process, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I transfer credits over? Like, I need a little bit of financial assistance as well, right? The GI Bill only pays so much. Like, it is not an endless flow of money. And I'm also getting very frustrated with this process. Like, they're asking me questions like, your father's salary. And like, my father's been retired for like 30 years. You know, they're asking me like where my father went to school. Like, he dropped out of high school in like, you know, 1935, right? Whatever it was. Like, but they need this information. And I'm also like, you're not getting this information. Like, I'm now adding fuel to the fire, right? I'm just having a really, like, I'm starting to notice this difficult time, but I haven't quite yet attributed it to like my trying to get back into like civilian, you know, society and things like that. So I'm starting to get into these arguments with people. And I will absolutely, like, you want to start an argument, like, I'm 100% going to jump in full force before I even know the whole story. Thankfully, at this time, I had met this lovely young lady who's now my wife, and she also works in for-profit education at the time. And she's like, hey, you need to chill out. Like, you know, that's the term, like, you catch more flies with honey, or you can catch more flies with honey. Catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Yeah, there you go. Again, I don't know who wants to catch flies anyways, but apparently honey is the way to do it, and I'm not sweet and smooth, okay? So she is like, hey, let me help you, also known as, let me fill out this application. Move out of the way, dumbass. Yeah, definitely. So she really, like, helps me out with this process, and I get back into going to college. And I'm going through this process of athletic training. And then one day I see a video of what an athletic trainer actually does. And they're, you know, holding up a water bottle, squirting water into a football player's mouth. And I'm like, wait a sec, what the hell am I doing here? Like, this is not what I want to do. I can't reach that high anyways. Like, this is not going to work out for me. Where's my stool, damn it? Man, let's change this up. Unfortunately for me, throughout my life, again, my mother has always like thrown little bits of wisdom in here, and damn it if she wasn't right, you know, a bunch of times. She'd always said, like, why don't you get a job in fitness? Like, you seem to enjoy this. Was that what you were thinking when you were looking at a degree athletic trainer? Yeah, athletic training. Hello, you know, that's what it sounds like. That must be what it is, and it wasn't at all. So I was lucky. I had worked with this guy previously for a fitness company, and he had also said, like, hey, sounds like you don't want a job in sales. Like, to be honest with you, like, it's hard to sell, like, for me. Like, I don't want to sell somebody something like I don't believe in, and trying to, like, I'll never forget one day I saw someone drive. There was a member trying to sign up for a gym. This sales associate put that potential gym member in their car, drove that man to the bank to get cash, because this guy was like, I don't have any cash on me, you know, and this guy's like, I'll drive you. And like, from you know, an ethical like position here, I was like, I'm not doing this. Like, I can't. And so like, that was a moment I was like, I gotta get out of this. Like, it's not for me. But anyways, my manager at the time was like, you really should pursue a job in fitness. Like, it just sounds like that's what you're passionate about, and that's what you want to do. So I wound up changing my degree once again to physical education. And with that physical education...
Now, like physical education, the kinesiology aspect?
Correct.
Okay, not like a PE teacher.
Well, essentially, that's where it goes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, kinesiology is essentially like the broad, term.
Umbrella.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the umbrella, and physical education is one of the routes that you can go. You go to be a physical therapist or a physical therapist assistant. I chose physical education. And in this path of physical education, I got my certification to become a personal trainer. And I honestly, I enjoyed it so much. I just enjoyed sharing my knowledge and actually helping people make changes to their life. And it had been such a big part of my life. And one of the stories I still tell people to this day with those I work with now, especially those who were in the military, right? In the military, on a daily basis, you get up and you do PT, right? You do your physical training every morning at whatever, 06 or 07, right? That's the first thing you do. Why? Because they said so. That's why. How long do you do it for? However long they tell you. And when do you do it? Every day. Well, guess what? When you get out, no one's there knocking on the door telling you to get up to do this, right? And like I was saying earlier, there was a time working in that job in New York City, no one's knocking on my door. I was eating Crunchwrap Supremes and drinking beers all night long, all day long. And I put on the weight. So I noticed that it made me feel good to share that knowledge with others, to help people get that thing back in their life or get in their life for the very first time ever. I truly cared about helping people. And I fired clients over the years too. People really just didn't want to do it, who were just paying the money. Listen, I don't want to take your money. Here's something I truly believe in. I want you to want to pay for it, right? I'm not going to drive you to the bank and watch you take out cash because you can't afford it. I'm not that person. So again, I changed my degree, physical education. I realized that physical education gave me that degree, gave me that thing to put on the wall.
Did you feel like when you finally got that degree, did it feel like a sense of accomplishment?
Honestly, besides my mother, I was the first one in my immediate family to graduate from college. And I understood what that man was saying when he said that no one could ever take that away from you. I get it. Did I need it necessarily? I don't know, maybe not. But in order for me to get to where I am today, I didn't need it. And I'm one of the very few people who actually got a degree in a field that, right, they truly wanted to pursue. And it goes back to all those other things. I'm not going to stick around too long just to check the boxes, just to get the paycheck. I want to do what I want to do. And I want to make sure that everything aligns with that. And through all those other experiences in life where I didn't know what I wanted to do, now I know. Now I have a goal. Now I see the reason for the education behind it. And again, some people could self-educate too, right? That works depending on what you're doing.
You ended up getting into the corporate realm of fitness. How did that work for you? And what was the long-term impacts of that?
Yeah.
Because I think there are a lot of people who really love going to the gym and then they go, oh, I'm going to go become a personal trainer. You don't realize how much work it actually ends up being.
So to that point, I know where you're going with this. So I get a job as a personal trainer, right? I start doing that. I now have a wife, right? So this woman who's helped me through, figure out college, all that stuff, she's been in my corner the whole time. She's now my wife. I now need to support, right? Us, we buy a house, right? That's great. Now we have children, right? So when we have children, something changes, right? In me personally. And I realize that my wife had an option, okay? My wife says, I want to be with you. Cool. My children do not have an option. We have brought them into this world. We made a decision to bring them into this world. Now I have to provide for my wife and children. And my wife says like, hey, it's cool. We'll get babysitters. I'll go to work, all that. I said, no, like I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure I make enough money to support this family. So I start trying to climb the corporate ladder and I want to move into management. And so going from personal training, moving to...
Because I got my degree.
Oh, man. Hey, listen, right? Yeah. Now I have a degree, right? I have that thing that says I can now, right, take this role on. And so I start doing that. And things are tough. Things are tight. I also am starting to understand and experience what PTSD is. But I can't let that affect me. I certainly can't show anyone else it's affecting me. And because I work in a job that is really like I'm working off of commission a lot and I have to provide for my family. So now I'm working 6 days a week, 10, 12-hour days. And I'm doing whatever it takes because I said I would support my wife and children. Every time I bring it up, man, it really does. It really chokes me up because I was going to work every day because I said I'd support this family and I'll do whatever it takes. And I'm not seeing my family, supporting them, putting food on the table, paying the mortgage. I don't see them. And I'm just going into work and swinging with both fists in every freaking direction I can. The amount of nights that I call my wife at 4 p.m., I got to stay till 6. And then at 6 p.m., looks like I have to stay till 8. And I have to. Because our livelihood depends on it. And like, we're barely scraping by. Like, we're on Obamacare, right? Like, I'm taking my kids to the clinic, you know, to get seen if they're sick. I'm hoping that, I remember telling my wife, like, hey, if something serious happens to me, like, you can't call an ambulance, like, put me in a car, kick me off in front of the VA hospital down in La Jolla. Like, you know, we can't afford, like, bills. And so,
even moving into the management role, it still didn't get you to a level where there was corporate benefits and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, there's benefits that you have to pay for. You know, like, we have, you know, medical, dental benefits. Like, absolutely, for a price, right? Like, you have to figure out what that price is. What that price is if nothing happens, what that price is if something should happen, how much is going to come out of my pocket. And again, we don't have two nickels to rub together, man. I am really like, and I've told my wife this so many times, I stand by, like, I'm literally living out a dream in my life to be able to support a family on a single, right, contributor, right? Like on my salary alone. I'm trying to support this family. I'll do whatever it takes. And I won't stop until like that thing is executed. And so I'm grinding day in, day out. On Sundays, I have to mow the lawn. I have to weed the yard. And it's also my therapy. I mean, I put my headphones in and I just want to take care of the house. Like I need to, like, we got to upkeep things, right? We also decided we'd have a mortgage too. And, you know, like, sure, if we had a landlord, this stuff be taken care of. So I'm doing everything I can to make sure that stuff is happening. And my wife says, hey, let me do it. Let me mow the lawn. And at some point she does. She's got a baby in the baby carrier and she's mowing the lawn. I'm like, you're not doing that. That's my job. And one, because I need that therapy. But that other part that my wife and kids want me. And the amount of nights that I would come home from work and my wife would ask like, hey, can you bathe the baby? And sometimes I would do it. I really didn't want to. Like, I just wanted to like crack a beer and sit on the couch and just get into like in the depths of like what I was going through. And things got worse. So after we had our second baby, my wife also had gotten diagnosed with breast cancer and stage 0. And, you know, like, thank God, like it could have been a lot worse, but we found it soon enough. And just a little sidebar on this part, like the reason why they found it was because my wife was very persistent and adamant with her medical professionals. She said, hey, I feel like I need this. My mother had breast cancer. And they were like, no, you're too young. And my wife pushed back on the system and she wound up having to get a new doctor and they reluctantly gave her an exam. And wouldn't you know it, there was cancer there.
Right.
So she has these surgeries and I'm still like, I have to go to work. I don't have time to take off. I couldn't even like, there was one Memorial Day, I was at a barbecue and they had called me and like, hey, where the hell are you? I'm like, I'm at a barbecue. They're like, what the hell are you? They're like, well, we work. I'm like, on Memorial Day? Like, yeah, like that's part of your job, dude. I'm like, but it's Memorial Day. Like I get you didn't serve, like this day is even more important to me for those that we lost. And you're telling me I should be at work on these days. But hey, I do what I have to do, right? I still keep going back to work because now I got a wife who's sick, going through surgery. I got 2 kids at home. And I'm in just this dark, dark place. I don't want to bathe my kids. I barely want to be home. I can't be home. And when I am home, I'm just trying to keep the house alive. And, you know, we previously talked about this, and I'll just kind of...
Well, I was going to say, we talked about it earlier about getting stuck, and you went from, and not in a negative way, you went from, hey, man, I make my decisions, what's next, to a point where I'm stuck.
Yeah.
And it's not that you made bad decisions or that being stuck is the wrong way to refer to it, but if your normal, what made you feel right, so to speak, was this freedom to go left when I want to go left, go right when I want to go right, and now I can't. That's a huge personal burden to carry and to have the maturity to be able to see beyond that.
It's that feeling again, like you're talking about, like I've lived my life where I don't want to do this anymore. Like now I have to.
Yeah.
This is it. Like I have to do something about this. And at this time, I'm trying to get into San Diego Police Department, trying to get into Riverside Sheriff's Department. I get disqualified, and I always tell people, like, I think I was too honest, but you had made a mention once for, like, maybe it's because you were colorblind. Hey, whatever the case was, like, I tried to change my career to get into law enforcement, and now I get disqualified. Now I'm told that you can't even do that. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so let down by the system, right? And I'm still going to this freaking job where I don't feel appreciated. I'm starting to snap at I'm starting to snap at my employees. I'm snapping at home. Again, like, I'm not sure what is going to happen next. And I've never been, right? Like all these other things I've done, like decisions like, oh, this sucks. Like, well, I got to find something else to do. I've never been the one to think about suicide. But if something didn't change quickly, you know, suck starting my rifle sounds like a good idea. But I also said I would support this family. And like, that's the most important thing for me. I brought these people into this world. I brought them into this life. And I need to figure out a way to show them that like when things get hard, you freaking just charge at it and swing even harder. And so as luck, wisdom, finally listening to the positive influences in my life who've probably been knocking on this thick skull all this time. My mother had sent a job listing to me that I had looked over once before, and I thought, I'm not worthy of that position. That's not, I would never be accepted to this. And so my mom sends this to me, and during all this time, she sees what my wife is going through. She sees I'm not happy. And she's like, you need to do something. She tells my wife, like, what is happening? Like, you guys can't live this way. You know, it's not healthy. And so I apply for this job, and as I'm this interview process goes like 3 months. And it's, again, like during this super dark period of time where like, just like shit can't get any freaking worse. And I don't know how much more worse I can really handle, but like, all right, man, like open the gates of hell. Like I'm just going to charge at it because that's the only way I know to survive. And I get the call from the job that like, hey, you know, you've been accepted to this position and, you know, we'd like you to start on X date. And X date also happens to be my wife and I's anniversary. And I'm like, man, like, how's it? And like, it's cool too, because like every year at this job, it's my work anniversary and it's also my wife and I's anniversary. And it's a really cool thing because that moment of, I mean, one, listening to my mother again.
For the first time.
yeah. For one of the first times.
Or at least acknowledging it.
Yeah. And applying for a job that I didn't think I had a leg to stand on in applying for this job. And apparently I did. And again, all those little shifts, all those like working my way up to management and taking on these bigger roles and budgets and personnel, like all those things added up to me being qualified for this job that I thought I wasn't qualified for. And so the job's for a physical health and wellness coach at Wounded Warrior Project. And I start this job because I want to help my fellow veterans. I also want a job that like I'm not gonna hate going to. Like that was the biggest thing. Like, man, I needed to like change my career. I needed to put money on the table. And I took a huge pay cut going there too. But what I got was worth so much more than money. That pay cut is so irrelevant to this day because going and working for an organization that supports veterans, I learned so much as a veteran that there's so much out there for us. You got to be willing to apply and look at what the qualifications are. But there's so much out there. And so I went from having, you know, like no time at all with my family to having weekends with my families to this job, for the most part, is 8 to 4. 4 o'clock comes, you leave work, you go home, spend time with your family. You come back, you pick up the next day. Now, sometimes there's events that go a couple of days into the weekend, and that's essentially my choice when those happen, how they happen. And then I realized that more veterans I spoke to were telling me about, hey, there are these organizations that provide this and they provide that. And so I found one of the organizations was for sailing, warrior sailing. And never sailed a day in my life. I thought sailing was for rich white people. I'm not one of those things. And I'm like, cool, I'll go give this a try. And so I went out and I did sailing. And I always thought I hated the beach. Turns out I just hate all the people at the beach. Not the people personally at the beach, but like just the like being in big crowds, like at a beach. Like I don't like that feeling. It's not comforting to me. But being out on a sailboat in the water, manipulating the sails and the rudder according to the environment around me, and getting away from the beach, getting away from land, gave me this really like freeing experience. And I find it so therapeutic. And it could be chaotic at times. Man, it's so therapeutic more than chaotic. And the other thing too is like just the water, just the silence to get out of my head and be in the moment. The other thing I found was jujitsu, and there's a program called We Defy. We Defy Foundation, they provide 12 months of jiu-jitsu to combat veterans if they're, I think, 70 or 80% or more in their disability rating. And then they give you 2 free gis. But through this program, I found jiu-jitsu. I've heard about jiu-jitsu before, heard Jocko talk about jiu-jitsu, so I knew some of the terminology. And I had started my son in jiu-jitsu like a year earlier because, again, I heard Jocko talk about it. So like, hey, I'll get him in there. And I'd be the dad on the sidelines, like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah, can't you freaking listen? Man, before I started jiu-jitsu, I was like running marathons. My first class of jiu-jitsu, I remember thinking like, I'd rather go run 15 miles. Running 15 miles is easier, at least at the time, right? Was easier to me to think about than doing this weird human chess match. And also, like, I thought I was tough. I thought I was strong. I thought I had good cardio. I thought I was flexible. I thought I could win in a fight against anyone. Man, was I freaking wrong. The other thing, too, about jiu-jitsu, though, and like, it's not just that physicality of it, but it's also the community. And I didn't realize until jiu-jitsu that I had been in search of a community, of a family, the platoon that I left, 17 years earlier, or 13 years earlier. I didn't know that was the thing that was also missing that would change my perspective on how I value relationships with people. And so in jiu-jitsu, we fight, we battle together, we have our after action, right? What went wrong, right? What went well? How could you get better? But then it's when you don't show up, you got people who are messaging you like, hey, where are you? Where you been? Right? Or you're just sitting up against the wall, right? Chatting with people that you've never met before, or maybe that you've been seeing around the mats here and there, and it's a family.
Likely from walks of life and careers you probably would never interact with. And you're all there together.
I think I said this once before, like, you've got the convict and an accountant, right? Like right next to each other, fighting, and it's so cool. again, that Marine Corps environment that I was familiar with. And here we go, right? It's the same thing. We got a bunch of different people from a different bunch of walks of life. We're all doing and learning the same thing. We have volunteered to show up here. And we rely on each other, heavily. Like it's cool to walk into, I used to go to the 4:30 a.m. class, and I stopped going for a while because it took a lot on my mental health. Sleep has always been one of those things that I've never felt I needed a lot of. And there came a point in time where I was going to like the 4:30 a.m. class, and then I was going to work all day, and then I was going to the 6:30 p.m. class, and then I was like just doing like all these things. I'm trying to sail on the weekends, and I was the yes man at work. And I love my job, and I work with such great people who want to help our veteran community and who want to help others get that fitness back. And sleep is a big thing that we also like coach on and focus on. And I wasn't listening to myself. And one day I had this presentation to give to my peers. And Paul, I tell you, man, I was like, all of a sudden, like an hour before this presentation, I'm trying to like do some like last minute edits, and I start getting this pain in my stomach, and I'm like doubled over on the couch, and I'm not feeling good. And for the first time in my life, I send all the people I work with a message. I'm like, I can't show up today. I know what this pain is. It's stress. And I didn't know what that was before. And at this point in time, I'm burning the candlesticks at both ends because I want to show everyone that I can do it all, man. And I realized I can't. And so all that to go back, right? Like I realized there's a stress that I was incurring on my own because I chose to put it there. And I walked away from that 4:30 a.m. Class. And every now and then I show up to that class, and there's the dude who was like, we grew up in jiu-jitsu together, right? And he was my training partner. Like that, we always rolled together. And I come into that 4:30 a.m. class, doesn't matter who he's been training with, the months in between, we're training partners that day. And like that stuff right there, that value, that friendship, that connection I get from jiu-jitsu, because of the job I got working for this veteran organization that showed me that there's all this out there. You have to be willing to find it. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? Research veteran organizations that provide this. You want to do underwater basket weaving for veterans? Like it's out there, right? Like whatever it is, like you can find it. And so this job provided me with so much more than a paycheck. It gave me a new life. Unintentionally, working for Wounded Warrior Project saved my life because I didn't know what was available to me. And I'm forever thankful. I'm forever grateful. Like I love that I get to go do this job every day to work with those who decided to raise their hand and serve this country. Mondays don't feel like Mondays anymore. I get to go to work on a Monday. I get to do the events that I do and work with the people I work with, and support the veteran community. And I tell my bosses all the time, like, listen, just so you know, and like we've talked about, right? Like when I first went there and my manager at the time looked at my resume, she was like, wow, you've changed jobs and locations like every year for the last 10 years. And I have no, like, listen, if I don't like something, I'm not going to stay. And I've been there for almost 6 years now, and, man, I'm so thankful. And again, like she went out on a limb, like, you see that type of resume, you're like, I don't know if this person's going to stick around. Hope he likes it.
You're like, you listed a spot that you worked for a day.
Oh man,
You hit the nail on the head though, that yes, We both do jiu-jitsu. Everybody under the sun is talking jiu-jitsu these days. I am a proponent of it for multiple reasons. One, what it gives you personally. And like you talked about when you're sailing, that silence, getting out of your head. Jiu-jitsu is going to give you that because the only thing you'll be able to focus on during that role is that. It's going to give you, like you said, it's going to give you your platoon back. It's going to give you your community back. The crazy thing is it's going to be a community of, I don't want to call them oddballs, but they're not going to all fall into the exact same mold. You're going to be with that 20-year-old computer programmer kid who's going to wipe the mat with you because those damn nerds. But there's going to be the guy like me who's 60 years old. There's going to be the accountant. There's going to be the convict. It is going to be a cornucopia of people that you're going to be able to become a community with. So give yourself that. If you don't want to do jiu-jitsu, I think, like you said, there's so many other options. If you enjoy basket weaving, but go find that community again. That's the big thing.
I think, when you look at why you are living your life, what do you want? Like, what do you truly want out of this world? There's so many different things. And I think we are convinced that we need to stay in a bad situation because I don't know, like because it's the only option. How many times I've spoken to people like, well, I have no other option. Like, yes, you do. Yeah, you just like, it's going to take a little research and but tell people, start talking to people and asking people, do you know somebody? But you're not stuck. You're not. If you want to do something, find a way to go do it. These days, for me, there's nothing more than I want than to go roll jiu-jitsu in the morning and then go sail throughout the afternoon, throughout the day, maybe for a few days. And that's like everything I do with work. Like, again, I love my job, love showing up. I love supporting the people who I work for, those who've, raised their hand to, support and defend this country. But at the end of the day, I'm also living for me. And for the 35 years before I got this job, I had no idea what that was going to be. And it's never too late. I think that's the other thing also. Like, it's too late. I guess I'm just, no, you're not. Like, you have every moment to reinvent yourself. If you're heading in the wrong direction, turn around. Just turn around, go the other way. But start moving, start somewhere. Even if you don't know if you're heading in the right direction, don't worry. You'll learn some lessons to tell you you're going the wrong way. Then just shift that focus. Don't keep doing the same dumb thing over and over again. Trust me, I know.
I think you hit the nail on the head. I don't think there's really much more that we can say about it. So I appreciate you sharing your story. I thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best going forward, man.
Paul, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for this podcast. And, one of the things I want to say also is, I think we have a lot in the veteran community. There's a lot of support out there, but talking with more and more of friends and people in the community who are from the first responder community, man, there's not enough out there. There isn't. And I really hope that changes. And I want there to be more out there. So I'm glad you do this.
I appreciate it. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
As always, thank you for listening or watching the episode. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out on social media or send me an email. The links are all in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're not already, please follow the podcast on whatever platform you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube. And if you would, please leave me a rating. Ratings do two things. You can tell me what I need to fix or improve, and the more ratings also gets the podcast recommended to more people. Another ask, please share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from and enjoy it. And last, don't forget, sign up for the newsletter.